The signature was still wet when Elena Varelli realized she'd just signed her soul away. Not to save the world, not for love, for a hospital bill and a dying man who'd already gambled away everything but his last breath. The husband they gave her in exchange? Dante Morello, a name that made grown men check the locks on their doors. Their wedding lasted 7 minutes. No flowers, no guests. Just a judge who wouldn't meet her eyes and a contract thick enough to bury secrets in. Tonight, she'd learn what those secrets cost. Stay with me until the end. Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. Hit that like button. You're going to need something to hold on to. The rain came down like God forgot to turn off the faucet. Elena stood outside Mercy General Hospital, watching water stream off the broken awning, mixing with something that looked too dark to be rainwater. Rust, maybe. Or blood that never quite washed away. This neighborhood had that kind of history. Her phone buzzed. Another creditor. She didn't answer. What was the point? You couldn't squeeze money from someone who'd already been wrung dry. Inside, past the flickering fluorescent lights and the smell of industrial cleaner fighting a losing battle against decay, her father was dying. Not dramatically, not like in movies where there's time for speeches and reconciliation. Just slowly, expensively, one labored breath at a time. Liver failure, complications. Words the doctors used that all translated to the same thing. Pay up, or we pull the plug. Victor Virelli had been a lot of things. Gambler, drunk, charming bastard who could talk his way into any room and out of any consequence. Until he couldn't. Until the wrong people came collecting, and suddenly charm didn't mean shit against compound interest and broken kneecaps. He'd put up the house, then the car, then anything that wasn't nailed down. And when that wasn't enough, he'd done what desperate men do. He'd made promises he couldn't keep to people who collected on debts in ways that didn't involve lawyers. Elena had stopped crying about it 6 months ago. Tears were another luxury she couldn't afford. She pushed through the hospital doors. The security guard, Marcus, ancient and kind, nodded at her. He'd stopped asking how she was doing around week 3. Now he just looked sad, which was worse than pity. Pity you could hate. Sadness just sat there, heavy and honest. The elevator wheezed upward. 4th floor, ICU. The hallway always smelled like fear masked with antiseptic. Room 447. Her father looked smaller every day, like he was already halfway gone, and his body was just catching up to where his spirit had fled months ago. Tubes and wires kept him tethered to machines that beeped out the rhythm of borrowed time. Hey, Dad? No response. There rarely was anymore. She sat in the chair that had molded to her shape over countless nights. The vinyl was cracked, spilling yellow foam. She'd spent more hours in this chair than her own bed lately. The nurses knew her by name, knew her coffee order, knew the exact shade of exhaustion that lived under her eyes. The attending physician, Dr. Reeves, competent and clinically sympathetic, had stopped sugarcoating it last week. Miss Varelli, we need to discuss payment arrangements. The insurance has lapsed, and the balance is now... I know what the balance is. We can't continue treatment indefinitely without... I said, I know. She'd known for weeks. $247,000. Might as well have been $2 million. She worked double shifts at a bar where drunk finance bros left decent tips if you smiled through their wandering hands. She'd picked up weekend catering gigs, sold everything worth selling, and still, the number only grew. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. Unknown number. Her thumb hovered over the decline button. But something, instinct, desperation, the same reckless gene that had ruined her father, made her answer. Elena Virelli? The voice was smooth, professional, the kind of voice that belonged to someone who'd never had to choose between electricity and groceries. Who's asking? My name is Castellano. I represent certain interests that may be able to help with your current financial difficulties. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. I'm not interested in loans, especially not the kind that come with broken fingers as late fees. A soft laugh. Not mocking. Almost appreciative. I'm not offering a loan, Miss Varelli. I'm offering a solution. One that benefits both parties. May I buy you coffee? Somewhere public. 30 minutes of your time. Every instinct screamed, no. Men who called themselves representatives of certain interests weren't in the business of charity, but instinct didn't pay hospital bills. Where? The coffee shop was too nice for this neighborhood. Espresso machines that probably cost more than her car hissed and gurgled behind a marble counter. The customers looked like they'd wandered in from a different zip code, maybe a different planet. Castellano was already seated. 50s, silver hair, suit that whispered expensive without shouting. The kind of man who looked comfortable everywhere because everywhere bent to accommodate him. Miss Varelli. He stood, gestured to the chair across from him. Thank you for coming. I took the liberty of ordering Americano, 2 sugars. I hope that's acceptable. She sat without touching the coffee. How do you know how I take my coffee? The same way I know your father's debt. The same way I know you've been working 80-hour weeks trying to outrun mathematics. He folded his hands, rings glinting. I know things. It's what I'm paid for. Get to it. Direct. I appreciate that. He slid a folder across the table. Plain manila. The kind that held life-changing documents masquerading as paperwork. Your father's debts can disappear. The hospital bills, the outstanding loans, everything. Paid in full by midnight tonight. Elena didn't touch the folder. What's the price? Marriage. The word hung there, absurd and solid. Excuse me? A marriage contract, legally binding, 1-year minimum, with options to extend under mutually agreed terms. You would take the name, attend necessary social functions, maintain the appearance of a committed relationship. In exchange, all debts eliminated, a generous monthly allowance, and full medical coverage for your father at the country's best private facility. Elena laughed. It came out sharp, edged with hysteria she hadn't known was waiting in her throat. You're insane. This is insane. This is business. Castellano's expression didn't change. My employer needs a wife. You need resources. It's a transaction. Your employer can't find a wife the normal way? Dating apps not working out for him? My employer's needs are specific. His world is complicated, dangerous at times. He requires someone who understands the nature of arrangements. Someone motivated by necessity rather than ambition. Someone who won't mistake the contract for romance. Who is he? That information comes after you open the folder. Elena stared at the manila folder like it might bite. Probably would, in ways she couldn't see yet. But $247,000 was a number that didn't care about pride, and her father's machines would stop beeping long before her pride paid a single bill. She opened the folder. The contract was dense. Legal language that twisted around itself. But certain phrases jumped out. Separate residences available upon request. Physical intimacy not required. Public appearances mandatory minimum 12 annually. Termination clause triggers payment of... She flipped to the signature page. The name was already filled in. Strong handwriting, black ink. Dante Morello. The coffee cup slipped from her numb fingers. Brown liquid spread across white marble. Ignored. No. The word came out strangled. Absolutely fucking not. Even she'd heard the name. You didn't grow up in this city without hearing the name. Dante Morello wasn't just rich, wasn't just powerful. He was the thing people whispered about when they thought the walls might be listening. Import-export, the public record said. Everyone knew that was code for things that happened in darkness, things that left stains. Men who crossed the Morello family had a habit of disappearing. Not dramatically, just gone, like they'd never existed. Debts got paid. Territories got respected. And Dante Morello himself, she'd seen his picture once in the business section, some charity gala. Hard face. Harder eyes. The kind of man who looked at the world like it was a problem to be solved or eliminated. I can't. She couldn't find words big enough. He's willing to clear $300,000 of debt for the privilege of your company at dinner parties. Castellano's voice remained level, patient. He's offering you an exit from a hole you'll never climb out of on your own. He's offering your father a chance to die somewhere other than a hallway where the nurses are too overworked to notice he's stopped breathing for 10 minutes. The words landed like fists. Why me? Elena's voice cracked. He could have anyone, models, socialites, women who actually belong in that world. He chose you. Castellano pulled out a pen, set it on the table. I don't question his decisions. I execute them. You have until 5 p.m. today. After that, the offer expires, and you return to trying to save a dying man with tip money and prayer. He stood, buttoned his jacket. The pen is yours to keep, regardless. Mont Blanc. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Then he was gone, and Elena was alone with a puddle of coffee and a contract that would trade her life for her father's. She sat there for an hour. The barista cleaned up the spilled coffee without comment. Customers came and went, living lives that didn't involve impossible choices and men with dangerous names. Elena read the contract, then read it again, looking for the trap, the clause that would destroy her. But it was almost disappointingly straightforward. Marriage in name, public appearances. Maintain the illusion. In exchange, freedom from drowning. Her phone buzzed. The hospital. She almost didn't answer. Miss Varelli, this is Nancy from Patient Accounts. I'm calling about... I know why you're calling. We've been more than patient, but the board is requiring we begin discharge procedures for patients who... I'll have payment by tonight. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, the full amount? The full amount. I'll need to note the source for our records. Note whatever you want. It'll be there. She hung up before the woman could ask more questions Elena didn't want to answer. Her hand shook as she picked up the Mont Blanc pen. Expensive, heavy, the kind of object that probably cost more than she made in a month. This is insane. But what was sanity worth when your father was dying and you'd already sold everything else? She signed, 3 places, initials in the margins. Her handwriting looked small next to Dante Morello's slashing signature. There, done. Sold. The phone number was at the bottom of the contract. She dialed. Castellano answered on the first ring. Miss Varelli. I signed. Excellent. A car will collect you from your apartment at 6 p.m. Bring identification and anything you can't live without for tonight. The wedding is scheduled for 7:30. Tonight? That's it. I need time to... The arrangement is time sensitive. Your father will be transferred to St. Catherine's private facility by 8 p.m. The debt clearance will process simultaneously. I suggest you use the next few hours to say goodbye to your current life. It's unlikely to look the same after tonight. The line went dead. Elena sat in the too expensive coffee shop, holding a pen worth more than her dignity, and realized she'd just agreed to marry a man she'd never met. A man people crossed the street to avoid. A man whose world she understood only through rumors and fear. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. The car is black, don't be late. See? Her apartment looked smaller when she knew she was leaving it. Studio, 6th floor walk-up. Radiator that clanked like a dying animal all winter. But it was hers. Had been hers. Past tense already, even though she hadn't packed a single box. What did you bring to a forced marriage with a crime lord? She stood in front of her closet, 3 feet of wire hangers and clearance rack desperation, and laughed. The sound echoed wrong in the empty space. Her nicest dress was black. She'd bought it for her mother's funeral 4 years ago. Hadn't worn it since. Seemed appropriate somehow. One morning to another. She packed light. Underwear, jeans, t-shirts, the book her mother had given her before the cancer took her. She stared at the framed photo on her nightstand. Her parents, younger, before gambling and disease had eaten everything good. Her father's arm around her mother's waist. Both of them smiling like the future was something to look forward to. She left the photo. Where she was going, the past didn't matter. 5:45. The black car was already waiting when she came downstairs. Not a limo. Sedan. Expensive but understated. The driver was young, professional, the kind of blank courtesy that came from seeing too much and commenting on none of it. Miss Varelli. That's me. He opened the door. She slid in. Leather seats. That new car smell. The door closed with a sound like a vault ceiling. They drove in silence. The city slipped past the tinted windows. Her city, except it wasn't anymore. She was leaving it behind, trading it for something else, something unknown. The municipal building was brutalist concrete and dying fluorescence. This wasn't the romantic courthouse with marble columns. This was where people came to handle business, licenses, permits, marriages that weren't about love. Castellano met her at the entrance. Good, you're prompt. This way. They walked through hallways that smelled like old paper and broken promises. Their footsteps echoed. Office workers heading home glanced at them, then looked away quickly, like they recognized Castellano. like they knew better than to be curious. Room 347, Judge's Chambers. The door opened. And there he was, Dante Morello. The photographs hadn't lied, but they'd been kind. They'd softened the edges, made him look almost civilized. In person, standing 6 feet away in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a used car, he looked like exactly what he was, apex predator in human skin. Not handsome. Wrong word. Handsome was safe. He was carved, sharp jaw that could cut glass, dark hair controlled with product, eyes that color between gray and steel that meant storms. A scar, thin and white, traced his left cheekbone. Someone had gotten close enough to mark him once. Elena wondered if they'd lived to regret it. He was looking at her with the same assessment, cataloging, measuring. Miss Varelli. His voice matched his appearance, deep, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to rise to be heard. Mr. Morello. Dante. We're not there yet. Something flickered in his expression. Amusement, maybe, or annoyance, hard to tell. We will be in 10 minutes. The judge entered. 60, tired, the look of someone who'd processed too many of these transactions to believe in romance anymore. He held a folder, thinner than Castellano's contract. This was the legal fiction. The real terms lived in the pages she'd already signed. Let's begin. It wasn't a ceremony. It was an execution, efficient, bloodless. Do you, Dante Morello, take this woman? I do. No hesitation, like he'd already run the calculation and decided the answer before the question was asked. The judge turned to her. Do you, Elena Varelli, take this man? Her mouth was dry. The words stuck. She looked at Dante, tried to find something in that hard face, some reassurance, some sign this wasn't a mistake that would destroy her. He looked back, waiting, not impatient, just inevitable, like he knew what she'd say because there was only one answer that made sense. I do. The lie tasted like metal. By the power vested in me by the state, I now pronounce you married. Sign here, and here. More signatures, more ink, more chains wrapped in legal language. 7 minutes, start to finish. She was married. The judge left. Castellano stepped forward with 2 boxes. Small. Velvet. Rings are traditional, he said. Dante took 1 box, opened it. A band. White gold. Simple. He didn't ask for her hand, just took it, slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Men who knew your coffee order knew your ring size. She took the other box. His ring was heavier. She took his hand. God, it was warm, calloused, real, and slid the band on. His fingers were scarred, old wounds mostly healed, working hands despite the expensive suit. Congratulations, Castellano said. The car is waiting. The penthouse was glass and silence. 57th floor, corner unit, views of the city spreading out like a circuit board of light and darkness. The kind of real estate that existed in a different economy, where prices weren't listed because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Dante moved through the space like he was alone, shrugging off his jacket, loosening his tie. Elena stood in the entryway, still holding her overnight bag, feeling like an intruder. Your room is down the hall, second door on the left. He didn't look at her, just poured 2 fingers of something amber from a crystal decanter. You'll find appropriate clothing in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom. Castellano was thorough. Where's your room? East wing. You won't hear me. That's not what I know what you meant. He finally looked at her. We're not doing this tonight, or any night you don't explicitly request it. The contract was clear. This is a business arrangement. I need a wife for appearances. You needed money. We both got what we needed. Then why? She gestured around the penthouse. Why all this? Why me? He took a drink, considered. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. You want honesty? That'd be refreshing. I saw you 6 months ago, the bar where you work. Some finance prick had his hand on your ass and you smiled like it didn't bother you. Took his tip. Then after he left, you went in the back and broke a glass so hard you cut your hand. You didn't cry, just wrapped it and went back to work. Elena's breath caught. She remembered that night. Remembered the asshole. remembered the blood. You were watching me? I was meeting someone. You were background. Until you weren't. He set the glass down. The women in my world, they're one of two types. Born to it, so they don't see the violence anymore. Or attracted to it, addicted to the danger. You looked like you hated every second, but you did it anyway because the alternative was worse. That's why you chose me? Because I'm desperate? I chose you because you're a survivor, and because you won't mistake this for something it's not. He moved toward the windows. I don't need love. I need someone who won't shatter when reality gets messy. Someone who understands transactions. And if I can't be that person, then we both made a mistake. But your father still gets his treatment. The contract guarantees that. You can hate me from your separate wing for the next year and still walk away richer than you started. Silence filled the space between them. The city hummed below, oblivious. Why do you need a wife? Elena asked. The real reason. Dante's reflection in the glass was distorted, ghost-like. Because men in my position are expected to have stability. Family. It makes them trust you, makes them think you've got something to lose, so you'll be reasonable. He turned. And because there are people who'd use my lack of attachments against me. Better to have a wife they can't leverage because she's already bought and paid for. No emotional weakness, no vulnerability. Except now they can target me. They can try. His smile was cold. That would be unwise. There was a weight to the words, a promise of violence that sat in the room like a third person. I should... Elena gestured vaguely toward the hallway. I should go unpack. Elena. She stopped. He'd never used her first name before. The rules are simple. You attend functions when required. You play the role convincingly, and you don't ask questions about the parts of my life that don't concern you. In exchange, you're protected, fed, comfortable. And when this year is over, you walk away set for life. And if I break the rules? Don't. The word was soft. Absolute. She found her room. Second door on the left. It was bigger than her entire apartment. King bed. Walk-in closet, already full of clothes she'd never chosen. Sizes perfect. Styles expensive, but not flashy. Someone had built her a wardrobe based on observation and assumption. The bathroom was marble and chrome. Shower big enough for 3 people. She stood under water hot enough to scald and tried to wash off the feeling of being sold. When she emerged, wrapped in a towel softer than any fabric she'd ever owned, there was a phone on the bed. New. Top of the line. A note beside it. Your number is programmed. Mine is listed under Dante. Castellano is listed under questions. Use it. D. She picked up the phone, opened the contacts. There were only 3. Dante. Castellano. An emergency. She didn't want to know what constituted an emergency in this world. Sleep didn't come easy. The bed was too soft. The silence was too complete. And somewhere in the East Wing, her husband, the word still felt like a foreign object in her mind, was awake, doing whatever men like him did in the dark hours. She finally drifted off around 3 a.m. The scream woke her at 4. Not loud, not long, but sharp. Pained. Male. Elena's heart hammered. She sat up, listening. Nothing. Just the hum of climate control and her own ragged breathing. She should stay in her room. That was the smart play. Don't ask questions. Don't get involved. But her feet were already moving. The hallway was dark. Motion sensors activated soft lights as she walked, past modern art that probably cost 6 figures, past windows overlooking a city that never truly slept. The East Wing door was open. She shouldn't. She really shouldn't. She looked inside. Dante was sitting on the edge of his bed, head in his hands, shirtless. The scars she'd suspected were visible now. Old wounds, poorly healed. A particularly brutal one traced his ribs. Knife work, close combat. He looked up, saw her. His expression shifted, surprise. Then something harder. Go back to bed. I said go back to bed. But she'd already seen. The tremor in his hands, the sheen of sweat, the look of someone who'd been somewhere else, somewhere bad. Nightmare? The word came out softer than she'd intended. Not your concern. We're married. Legally, it kind of is. Legally, You're a contract employee. This. He gestured at himself, at the vulnerability she'd accidentally witnessed. This isn't part of the job description. Elena should leave, should back away from whatever this was. Instead, she sat down, not close, just nearby, on a chair by the window. You don't have to talk about it. I won't. Okay. They sat in silence. The city glowed below them. Dawn was still an hour away. Finally, Dante spoke. Afghanistan, 8 years ago. Private military contract. Some things you see, they don't wash off. He looked at her. That's all you get. Don't ask for more. I wasn't going to. Everyone does eventually. I'm not everyone. Something shifted in his expression. Not softening, but recognition maybe, acknowledgement. You should sleep, he said. We have an appearance tomorrow. Brunch with some business associates. Castellano will brief you. Is that when I start earning my keep? That's when we start selling the illusion. He stood, and she could see the effort it took. The walls rebuilding, the vulnerability being locked back away. Wear the blue dress. Second row, left side of the closet. Conservative, but expensive. We need them to believe I married for partnership, not decoration. What if I can't pull it off? You will. He walked to the door, paused. You survived your father's mess. You survived poverty and desperation. You can survive brunch. After he left, Elena sat in his room for another 5 minutes, taking in the space, the books on military strategy, the single photo, Dante, younger with an older man, same hard eyes, father probably, both looking at the camera like it was an enemy. She went back to her room, lay down, stared at the ceiling. Somewhere in this glass tower, she'd married a man with ghosts. And tomorrow, she'd have to convince the world she'd done it for love. The lie was starting already. Ishi ice. Morning came with sunlight that felt obscene. Elena woke to her phone buzzing. A text from Castellano. Car leaves at 10:30 a.m. Brunch is at the garden room. You'll meet Dante there. Play the role of devoted newlywed. Smile often. Touch his arm occasionally. Laugh at appropriate moments. I'll be monitoring, no pressure. The blue dress fit like it was custom made. Probably was. She looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked expensive, polished, nothing like the bartender who'd signed her life away 36 hours ago. Makeup, jewelry she'd found in a drawer, simple, elegant, probably worth more than a car. Hair pulled back but soft. The costume was complete. She looked like someone who belonged in Dante Morello's world. The lie was convincing. The car arrived exactly at 10:30. Different driver. Same professional courtesy. They drove through the city to the Upper East Side, old money territory, where buildings had doormen and history. The garden room was the kind of restaurant that didn't have prices on the menu because if you were there, money wasn't a concern. Natural light through floor-to-ceiling windows. White linens. Flowers that were definitely replaced daily. Dante was already seated. Dark suit. Perfect. He stood when she approached, and the gesture was so smooth it almost looked natural. Elena. He kissed her cheek, whispered in her ear, Smile. They're watching. She smiled, let him pull out her chair, sat with practiced grace she'd learned from catering gigs where she'd watched rich people perform their lives. The other couple at the table were older, 50s. The man had the look of inherited wealth, soft hands, confident posture, the ease of never having worried about money. His wife was maintained. That was the word. Surgically preserved youth fighting a losing battle against time. Elena, this is Richard Thornton and his wife, Margaret. Richard handles certain investments for my portfolio. Dante's hand found hers on the table, warm, convincing. Richard, Margaret, my wife. Wife? The word still sounded foreign. Congratulations, Margaret said. Her smile was sharp, assessing. So sudden. We had no idea Dante was even seeing anyone. We kept it quiet, Elena said. Found a smile that looked genuine. With Dante's business, privacy felt important. How did you meet? Richard leaned forward, curious or suspicious. Hard to tell. Elena glanced at Dante. They hadn't discussed this, hadn't coordinated the story. Dante's expression didn't change. A bar, 6 months ago. She was working. I was pretending to. The truth. or close enough. Love at first sight? Margaret's tone suggested she didn't believe in the concept. No. Elena surprised herself by answering honestly. More like recognition. Sometimes you see someone and you just know they'll change everything, even if you don't want them to. Dante's fingers tightened slightly on hers, the only sign he'd heard. Richard laughed. Well, that's refreshingly honest. Most newlyweds are still in the lying to themselves phase. The conversation shifted to business, investments, market movements. Elena listened, playing the role of interested wife who didn't quite understand the complexities. Asked simple questions that made the men feel intelligent for explaining. But she was listening, really listening, picking up the subtext, the careful phrasing, the things they weren't saying directly. This wasn't about investments. This was about territory, power. Richard was testing Dante's position. The marriage was part of that test, proof of stability, proof of commitment to this life. She touched Dante's arm when Richard made a point, laughed softly at an anecdote, played the role perfectly. Under the table, Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression didn't change, but his posture shifted. Subtle, dangerous. Excuse me. He stood. Business. I'll just be a moment. He walked away. Elena was left with Richard and Margaret, smiling predators in designer clothes. You seem smart, Margaret said. Not a compliment, an observation. Too smart for this. For brunch? For him. She sipped her mimosa. Dante's world isn't kind to wives. The last woman who got close to him ended up in a river. Accidental drowning, officially. But accidents in his circles are rarely accidental. Elena's blood went cold. I'm not threatening you, dear. I'm warning you. There's a difference. Margaret's smile was almost kind. You seem nice. It would be a shame if nice got you killed. Before Elena could respond, Dante returned. His face was stone. We need to go. Now. But we haven't... Richard started. Now. Dante's hand was on Elena's elbow. Firm. Not rough, but not negotiable. They were moving. Out of the restaurant. Into the car. The driver was already running. What's... Not here. Dante's jaw was tight. His hand reached into his jacket. When it came out, there was a gun. Compact. Lethal. Very real. Elena's heart stopped. Jesus Christ. Put your head down. His voice was combat calm. Do it now. She ducked. The car accelerated. Through the windows, she could see other vehicles, black SUVs, following, getting closer. Who? Competitors. They know about you now. About us. He was on his phone, speaking rapidly in Italian, commands, coordinates. The car swerved. Elena's stomach lurched. They were going 80, 90, in city traffic. A sound, loud, sharp. It took her a second to recognize it. Gunfire. The rear window spiderwebbed, didn't shatter, bulletproof glass, but the impact was violent. Stay down! Dante's voice cut through her panic. Do not fucking move. More shots. The car weaved. The driver was good. Trained. Military, probably. He took corners at speed that should have flipped them. Didn't. They burst onto a highway on-ramp. The SUVs followed. 3 of them. Professional. Coordinated. Dante lowered his window, leaned out, fired 3 times, precise, controlled. One of the SUVs swerved, tire blown. It crashed into the barrier. Sparks. Metal screaming. 2 left, the driver said. Calm. Like this was Tuesday. I see them. They hit the tunnel. Darkness. Lights strobing past. The SUVs gained. One pulled alongside. Dante fired again. Driver's side windshield. The SUV veered wildly. Hit the tunnel wall. Gone. One left. It rammed them from behind. Elena's head snapped back. Pain. Stars. Almost there, the driver said. Where was there? They burst from the tunnel. Ahead, a checkpoint. But not police. Private. Armed men in black. Dante's men. The remaining SUVs saw them. Broke off. Disappeared into traffic. They didn't slow down until they were past the checkpoint. Down a private road. Through gates that closed behind them like jaws. Finally, the car stopped. Elena was shaking. She couldn't stop. Her hands, her whole body, vibrating with adrenaline and terror. Dante was already out, scanning the perimeter, gun still in hand. When he was satisfied, he opened her door. Out. She couldn't move. Elena, look at me. She looked. His eyes were still that cold gray. But there was something else there, concern, maybe, or calculation. You're safe. It's over. But I need you to move. She moved, legs like water. He caught her when she stumbled. Strong hands, steady. They were at a different building, not the penthouse, somewhere industrial, converted warehouse maybe. Inside, more armed men. They nodded to Dante. Didn't look twice at Elena. He took her to a room, office, locked the door behind them. Elena's legs gave out. She sat hard in a chair. The shaking wouldn't stop. Dante poured water, handed it to her. Drink. She drank. Her hand shook so badly, water slopped over the rim. What the fuck was that? Her voice cracked. What the actual fuck? A message. They're testing boundaries, seeing if the marriage makes me vulnerable. He holstered his gun. It does. But not the way they think. People shot at us. At me? Because I married you. Yes. You said I'd be protected. You are. You're alive. That's protected. He crouched in front of her, eye level. This is my world, Elena. I didn't hide what I am. You knew the risks. Knowing and experiencing are really fucking different. I know. His voice softened, barely. But you handled it. Stayed down when I told you to. Didn't panic. That's good. I'm panicking now. Now is safe. Panic now all you want. She laughed. It sounded broken. This is insane. You're insane. I'm insane for being here. Probably. He stood, walked to the window. I can have you taken somewhere else. Safer. You won't be visible. Won't be a target. The contract still holds. Your father still gets treatment. So I just hide for a year? Or you stay visible? Stay with me. Learn to handle the danger. He looked at her. Your choice. Elena's hands were still shaking, but her mind was working now, processing. Margaret's warning, the gunfire, Dante's cold efficiency with a weapon. This was real, all of it. The danger, the violence, the world she'd stepped into for money. She could run, hide, live in comfortable fear for a year and collect her payout, or she could survive this, really survive it, learn the rules of a game she'd been forced to play. If I stay, she met his eyes. You teach me, not just how to smile at brunch, how to actually survive this. That's not in the contract. Neither was getting shot at. Contracts seem flexible. Dante studied her, that calculating look, measuring. Finally, he nodded. Okay, but if I'm teaching you, you do exactly what I say. No arguments, no negotiations. Fine. Starting now. We're staying here tonight. Tomorrow, we move to another location. You don't contact anyone without my approval. You don't go anywhere without security. And you learn to shoot. I don't. You want to survive? You learn to bite back. He moved to the door, paused. Get some rest. We start training at dawn. He left her alone. Elena sat in the strange office, in a building she didn't know, in a world she hadn't chosen. Her hands had finally stopped shaking. She'd signed a contract to save her father. But somewhere between the penthouse and the bulletproof glass, she'd made a different choice. She was done being a victim, done being something that happened to. If she was going to be in this world, Dante's world, she was going to learn its language, even if that language was violence. The door opened. A woman entered. 30s, hard eyes, efficient movements. She set down a bag. Fresh clothes, toiletries. Mr. Morello said you'd need them. She didn't wait for thanks, just turned to leave. Wait, Elena said. What's your name? The woman paused. Sophia. Do you work for him? I work for the family. Everyone here does. Is it always like this? The danger? Sophia's expression didn't change. You married into it. The danger doesn't care if you're ready. You either adapt or you don't survive long enough to regret it. She opened the door. Welcome to the Morello family, Mrs. Morello. Try to last longer than the last one. The door closed. Elena opened the bag. Found black clothes, practical. Combat boots in her size, a leather jacket that looked like it could stop a knife. She changed, left behind the blue dress and the pretense of being a society wife. When she looked in the mirror, she saw someone different, someone who was starting to understand the real price of the contract she'd signed. It wasn't her freedom, it was her innocence. And in Dante Morello's world, that might be the first thing she needed to lose. Dawn came with the sound of metal on metal. Elena woke to fluorescent lights and the echo of voices in a space too large to be residential. Her body ached. The adrenaline crash from yesterday had left her muscles tight, her head pounding. She sat up on the narrow cot, military surplus probably, and tried to orient herself. The warehouse. Right. They'd stayed here because somewhere out there, people wanted her dead for the crime of signing a contract. Her phone showed 5:47 a.m. A text from an unknown number. Jim, third door on the left. Bring the boots. D. She dressed in the black clothes Sophia had left. Everything fit like someone had taken her measurements while she slept. The boots were broken in already, not stiff like new leather. Someone else's cast-offs, maybe. Or maybe Dante's people kept a stockpile of practical clothing for emergencies. The hallway was concrete and exposed pipes, industrial lighting every 10 feet. Her footsteps echoed. Somewhere ahead, she heard voices. Men talking in low tones, the cadence of people who worked together often enough to develop shorthand. Third door on the left. The gym was brutal. No mirrors, no chrome equipment, nothing decorative. Just heavy bags hanging from chains, weight racks that looked like they'd survived a war, and mats stained with old sweat and probably blood. The smell hit her, leather, chalk, the particular funk of a space where violence was practiced daily. Dante was in the center, shirtless, wrapping his hands. The scars she'd glimpsed last night were fully visible now, a roadmap of damage, knife wounds, bullet grazes, burns. His body was a catalog of near misses and direct hits. He looked up when she entered. "You're late." "Your text said third door, didn't specify third from where." "Fair." He tossed her a pair of hand wraps. "So put these on." "I don't know how." "Then learn. YouTube it. Whatever. You've got 5 minutes." He turned to the heavy bag, started working. Precise combinations. Jab, cross, hook. Each impact solid, controlled. This wasn't fitness boxing. This was trained violence. Elena pulled out her phone, found a tutorial, struggled through wrapping her hands. The fabric kept twisting wrong. By the time she finished, her fingers looked like amateur mummies. Dante glanced over. "Terrible. But we'll fix it later. Come here." She approached the bag. He positioned her, hands up, chin down, weight on the balls of her feet. "Hit it." She threw a punch. Weak. Her wrist bent wrong and pain shot up her arm. Again. She hit it again. Slightly better, still pathetic. "You're apologizing with your body." His voice was clinical. "Your shoulders are rolling forward like you're sorry for existing. Stop it. Hit like you mean it." "I don't know." "You were shot at yesterday. Those men would have killed you without a second thought. You think they cared that you're new to this? That you're scared?" He moved behind her, adjusted her stance, his hands on her hips, repositioning. "Hit this bag like it's the SUV that tried to end you." Something hot flared in her chest. Anger. Real anger, not the performative kind she'd used to get through her father's mess. She thought about the bullets, the terror, the way her hands had shaken for hours afterward. She hit the bag. Harder this time. Solid. Better. Again. She hit it again and again. Her knuckles started to hurt even through the wraps. Her shoulders burned, but the anger felt good, felt useful. Faster. Don't think. Just react. She threw combinations. Messy, uncoordinated, but committed. Sweat started to bead on her forehead. Her breath came in gasps. "Stop." She stopped, chest heaving. Dante circled her. "You're strong enough. That's not the problem. The problem is you're waiting for permission to defend yourself. Like someone has to approve your right to fight back." He met her eyes. "No one's going to give you permission, Elena. You just take it." "Easy for you to say. You've clearly been doing this for years." 12 years, since I was 18. He grabbed water, took a long drink. "My father put me in a cage fight my first week in the business. Said I needed to understand pain before I could inflict it properly. I lost 4 teeth and gained perspective. Elena stared. That's insane. That's the family. He set the water down. You wanted to learn how to survive this world. That starts with understanding what survival actually means. It's not pretty. It's not fair. It's just necessary. So what? You're going to put me in a cage fight? No, I'm going to teach you to shoot. Then I'm going to teach you to think like someone who might need to. Come on. He led her deeper into the warehouse, downstairs to a sublevel that felt like descending into a bunker. The temperature dropped. The walls were reinforced concrete, thick enough to muffle sound. The range was professional. 25 yards, multiple lanes, target systems that looked military grade. A gun safe along one wall held enough weaponry to outfit a small army. Dante opened it, selected a pistol, compact, black. He checked it with practiced efficiency, then handed it to her. It was heavier than she expected, cold. The weight of it in her hand felt wrong, significant. That's a Glock 43, 9mm, simple, reliable, hard to fuck up. He positioned her at the lane, handed her ear protection. Safety's here. Trigger discipline means your finger stays off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Aim center mass. Don't try for headshots, that's movie bullshit. You want to stop a threat, you aim for the biggest target. He moved behind her, adjusted her grip. His hands covered hers, guiding. Stance wider, lean into it slightly. The recoil's going to push back, don't fight it, just control it. I don't think I can. You can, you will. His voice was close to her ear. First shot's always the hardest. After that, it's just mechanics. He stepped back. Elena stared at the target downrange. Human-shaped silhouette. She knew intellectually it was paper, but her brain kept inserting faces. The men from the SUVs, the driver who'd fired at them. Real people who'd wanted her dead. Her finger found the trigger. Breathe, Dante said. Half breath out, then squeeze. Don't pull, squeeze. She breathed, squeezed. The gun kicked. The sound was enormous even through the ear protection. The bullet went wide, hitting the concrete wall to the left of the target. Again. She fired, missed, fired again, clipped the edge. You're anticipating the recoil. Stop thinking, just shoot. She emptied the magazine, hit the target 3 times out of 15. All outer rings. Dante reloaded for her. Better, you're not flinching anymore. That's progress. They spent an hour on the range. Her hands started to hurt from the repetitive impact. Her ears rang despite the protection, but her grouping improved. By the end, she was hitting center mass 6 times out of 10. Adequate, Dante said. We'll drill daily until it's instinct. How often do you think I'll actually need to shoot someone? Hopefully never. Realistically? He secured the guns back in the safe. In my world, people who can't defend themselves don't last long. You're a target now. The wedding made sure of that. Every enemy I have will see you as leverage. The only question is whether you're a liability or an asset. Which am I? He looked at her for a long moment. Ask me in 6 months. Upstairs, the warehouse had transformed. Men in suits, Dante's people, she was learning to recognize them, moved with purpose, setting up equipment, laptops, monitors, communication gear. Whatever this place was, it was becoming operational. Castellano appeared like he'd materialized from smoke. Mrs. Morello, you look considerably more dangerous than yesterday. Combat boots will do that. Indeed. He turned to Dante. We need to discuss the Thornton situation. My office, 10 minutes. Dante looked at Elena. You should eat. Sophia will show you the kitchen. It wasn't a suggestion. Sophia appeared on cue. She led Elena through the warehouse to a converted space that served as a cafeteria. Industrial kitchen, long tables, the smell of coffee and something being fried. Sit, Sophia said. I'll get you food. Elena sat. Around her, men in various states of readiness, some armed, some in workout gear, all carrying the same coiled alertness. They glanced at her, sized her up, went back to their conversations. Sophia returned with a plate. Eggs, toast, bacon that looked actually crispy, coffee in a mug that had seen better decades. Thank you. Don't! Sophia sat across from her. I'm not doing it out of kindness. You're the boss's wife. That means you get fed, protected, treated with basic respect, but don't mistake any of it for friendship. Noted. You handled yesterday better than expected. Sophia's tone was neutral. Most civilians would have lost it, screaming, panic, making everything harder. You stayed down, stayed quiet. That's smart. I was terrified. Terror's fine. Useful, even. Keeps you sharp. It's panic that kills. Sophia pulled out a cigarette, lit it despite the no smoking signs. How much did Dante tell you about the family structure? Nothing. Just that I'm a target because of him. You're a target because you represent stability. The families, there are 5 main ones in this city. They all watch each other, looking for weakness. Dante's been untouchable for years because he's got no attachments, no wife, no kids, no obvious pressure points. Then you show up. So marrying me made him weaker. In their eyes, yes. In reality, Sophia took a drag, exhaled smoke. Depends on whether you become an asset or a liability. An asset is someone who understands the game and plays it. A liability is someone who needs constant protection and gives nothing back. What was she? Elena asked. The woman before me. The one who drowned. Sophia's expression darkened. That's not a conversation for your first breakfast. But there was someone. There's always someone. Sophia crushed out the cigarette. Dante's been in this life since he was born. You think you're the first woman who got close? The difference is, you're the first one he married. That means something, or it's supposed to. Before Elena could respond, Castellano appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Morello, your father's been transferred to St. Catherine's private wing. He's stable, comfortable, and receiving the best care available. Thought you'd want to know. Relief hit her like a physical thing. Can I see him? Not yet. Too risky. Once the current threat level decreases, we'll arrange a secure visit. Castellano's expression was almost kind. He's safe. That's what matters. Is he awake? In and out. The doctors are optimistic about his prognosis. The treatment he's receiving now should give him several more years, possibly longer. Years. Her father had years now instead of days. The cost of those years was sitting heavy in her stomach, but at least they existed. Thank you, she managed. Castellano nodded and disappeared back into the maze of the warehouse. Sophia stood. Finish eating. Then you need to shower and change. Dante's taking you somewhere this afternoon. Where? Does it matter? When he says go, you go. That's how this works. Elena ate. The food tasted like cardboard, but she forced it down. Survival meant maintaining strength, even when your appetite had fled. The shower was industrial. White tile, powerful pressure, no frills. Elena stood underwater hot enough to hurt and tried to process the last 48 hours. Married, shot at, learned to shoot back. Her father saved. Her life completely dismantled and rebuilt into something unrecognizable. She got out, dried off with a towel that was rough but clean. In the locker area, she found new clothes. Not combat gear this time. Dark jeans, a silk blouse, leather jacket, expensive but understated. The uniform of Dante's world. She dressed, looked at herself in the clouded mirror. The woman staring back looked harder than the one who'd walked into that coffee shop 3 days ago. Older, changed. Her phone buzzed. Dante. Garage. 5 minutes. The garage was underground, accessed through a freight elevator that descended with ominous slowness. When the doors opened, she found herself facing a collection of vehicles that probably cost more than most people's houses. Luxury sedans, SUVs with bulletproof modifications, even a motorcycle that looked like it could break the sound barrier. Dante was waiting by a black sedan. Different car than yesterday, probably rotated for security. Get in. She got in. Leather seats, tinted windows. The driver was the same one from yesterday's chase, young, competent, eyes that had seen combat. Dante slid in beside her as the car began moving. We're going to meet someone. Family, associate. He wants to see you, verify you're real. Why wouldn't I be real? Because marriages in this world are often fabricated, arrangements on paper with no substance. He wants to confirm I'm actually committed to this. Are you? Dante looked at her. I signed the contract. I honor my agreements. Whether that qualifies as commitment is semantics. They drove in silence, out of the industrial district, into neighborhoods that got progressively nicer. brownstones, tree-lined streets, the kind of area where crime happened quietly behind closed doors. The car stopped in front of a restaurant. Closed sign in the window, but lights on inside. "This is Angelo's territory," Dante said as they exited. "He's old guard, traditional. Expects respect but gives it if you earn it. Let me do the talking. You just need to be present and convincing." Convincing how? Like a wife who chose this, not one who was bought. The door opened before they reached it. A man, 50s, thick around the middle, expensive suit that strained at the buttons, gestured them inside. "Dante, come in, come in." The restaurant was old-school Italian. Red vinyl booths, checkered tablecloths, paintings of Venice that were probably older than Elena. The smell of garlic and tomatoes filled the air. At a center table sat a man who made everyone else look small. Not physically, he was maybe 5'10", slight build, thinning hair, but through sheer presence. This was someone who'd commanded respect for so long it had become gravitational. "Angelo." Dante's tone was respectful but not subservient. "Thank you for seeing us." "Dante, sit." Angelo's voice was rough, like decades of cigars had sandpapered his throat. His eyes moved to Elena. "And this is the wife, Elena Morello." She extended her hand. He took it, held it longer than necessary, studying her face. "You don't look like the kind of girl who marries for love." "I'm not a girl. I'm 28. She met his eyes. "And no one marries for love in this world. They marry for advantage." Angelo's eyebrows rose. He looked at Dante. "She's got a mouth on her. She's honest. I value that." "Honesty." Angelo released her hand, gestured for them to sit. "Rare commodity. Your father, Dante, he understood the value of a good lie. Rest his soul. But you always preferred the truth, even when it cost you." They sat. A waiter appeared, young, nervous, and poured wine without being asked. Deep red, probably expensive. Elena didn't touch hers. "So tell me," Angelo continued, leaning back, "why this one? You could have anyone. Models, actresses, women from the families. Why a bartender with a gambling addict for a father?" The bluntness should have stung. It didn't. Elena had stopped being ashamed of her father's failures around the same time she'd started paying for them. Dante's expression didn't change. Because she understands transactions. Because she won't mistake business for romance. And because when someone shot at us yesterday, she didn't fall apart. She adapted. "You were shot at?" Angelo's attention sharpened. "By who?" Still determining, but the message was clear, testing boundaries, seeing if the marriage makes me vulnerable. "Does it?" "No." Dante's voice was iron. "It makes me committed to protecting what's mine. There's a difference." Angelo studied them both. The silence stretched. Elena felt the weight of evaluation, of judgment being passed in real time. Finally, Angelo smiled. Thin, calculated. "I like her. She's got spine. That's good. You'll need someone with spine for what's coming." "What's coming?" Dante's posture shifted, alert. "The Volkov family. They're making moves, quietly, but moves nonetheless. Expanding territory, talking to our suppliers, testing loyalties." Angelo sipped his wine. "They think the marriage makes you soft, distracted. They're wrong, obviously, but perception is its own reality. I'll handle Volkov. I'm sure you will. But handling him might require demonstrations, public ones. Your wife ready for that?" Elena spoke before Dante could. "What kind of demonstrations?" Angelo's smile widened. "The kind where blood gets spilled and lines get drawn. You think yesterday was bad? That was a warning. A demonstration is war." "Then I'll be ready." She said it with more confidence than she felt. But fake it until you make it had gotten her through poverty. It could get her through this. "Good." Angelo raised his glass. "To the Morello family, may your enemies underestimate you and your allies fear you." They drank. The wine was bitter. Appropriate. The rest of the lunch passed in business talk. Territory disputes, shipment schedules, coded language that Elena was starting to understand. She stayed quiet, watched, learned. This was the real education, not the shooting range, but this. Understanding the ecosystem of violence and money. When they left, the sun was setting. The driver was waiting. Inside the car, Dante was silent for several blocks. Then, "You did well." "I barely spoke." "Exactly. Angelo respects people who know when to shut up. You could have tried to prove yourself, insert yourself into conversations you don't understand yet. You didn't. That's smart." "He mentioned your father." Dante's jaw tightened. "He did." "You haven't mentioned him." "Nothing to mention. He's dead, has been for 3 years." "How?" "Gunshot, rival family, same old story." His tone made it clear the subject was closed. They drove back to the warehouse, but as they pulled into the garage, Dante's phone rang. He answered, listened, his expression darkening with each second. "When?" A pause. "How many?" Another pause. "Secure the perimeter. I'm on my way." He hung up, looked at the driver. "The island. Now." "What island?" Elena asked. "Safe house, 40 miles up the coast. Helicopters waiting." He was already moving, pulling a go bag from under the seat. "The Volkovs hit one of our warehouses, killed 3 of my men. This isn't a test anymore. This is war." "So we're running?" "We're regrouping. There's a difference." The car screeched to a halt. "You've got 10 minutes to grab anything you need, then we're gone." Elena ran. Back to the locker room, grabbed her bag, still packed from yesterday. The combat boots, the leather jacket. Practical things for an impractical life. When she reached the roof, a helicopter was already spinning up. Dante was inside, talking rapidly on his phone. She climbed in, strapped in. The city spread below them as they lifted off, lights flickering like a circuit board. Somewhere down there, 3 men were dead because of business, because of territory, because violence was the language everyone spoke. The helicopter banked east toward the coast, toward darkness. Dante ended his call. This is going to get worse before it gets better. How much worse? Volkov's making a statement. I'll have to make one back. Bigger, louder, public enough that no one else gets ideas. He looked at her. You sure you want to stay visible? Last chance to opt for the hiding option. Elena thought about the gun in her hands, the heavy bag, the way her knuckles still ached from hitting it. She thought about Angelo's assessment, spine, and whether she actually had enough to survive what was coming. I stay visible. Even if it means watching people die? Even then, Dante nodded, settled back in his seat. Okay, but when the blood starts, you don't get to be horrified. You don't get to judge. This is the life. You're in it now. The helicopter cut through the night. Below, the ocean was black, endless. They were heading toward isolation, toward whatever came next. Elena stared out the window. 48 hours ago, she'd been someone else. Someone who thought survival meant working double shifts and smiling through disrespect. Now she was flying toward a war she didn't start, married to a man who killed as easily as he breathed, learning to do violence in case violence found her first. The metamorphosis wasn't complete yet, but she could feel it happening. The old Elena, the one who apologized for existing, was dying. What would replace her was still being forged. Manishitkem. The island emerged from darkness like a secret. No lights until they were almost on top of it. Then suddenly, a landing pad illuminated, guide lights marking the perimeter. The helicopter descended with practiced precision. Dante was out before the rotors stopped. Elena followed, ducking instinctively even though the blades were well above head height. The wind from the downdraft was brutal, carrying salt spray from the ocean crashing somewhere below. A man waited at the edge of the pad. Older, weathered, the look of someone who'd spent a lifetime in proximity to violence. Sir, the villa's secure. Provisions stocked for 2 weeks if needed. Good. Perimeter status? Motion sensors active, cameras online. We've got 3 patrol teams rotating 12-hour shifts. No one gets on this island without us knowing. Dante nodded. Go get some sleep, Marcus. You look like hell. Respectfully, sir. So do you. Fair. Marcus disappeared into the darkness. Dante turned to Elena. Come on, I'll show you around. They walked a path lit by solar lights embedded in the ground. The villa appeared gradually. Modern architecture, all glass and clean lines, seemingly built into the cliff face. Waves crashed somewhere below, the sound constant and oddly soothing. Inside was warmth, heated floors, soft lighting, furniture that managed to be both expensive and comfortable. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the ocean, though at night it was just darkness and the occasional flash of white foam. "This is yours?" Elena asked. "One of several properties. This one's off the books. No paper trail, no public records, family emergency shelter." He moved to a cabinet, pulled out bottles. "You drink whiskey?" "Not usually." "Tonight you do." He poured 2 glasses, handed her one. "To surviving the first week." They drank. The whiskey burned. She coughed. Dante almost smiled. "It gets easier." "The drinking or the rest of it?" "Both. Neither. Depends on the day." He set his glass down. "Your room's upstairs, second door on the right, bathroom attached, closet stocked. You need anything? There's an intercom system, just press the button." "Where's your room?" "East wing. Far enough for privacy, close enough if there's a problem." He pulled out his phone, checked something, his expression tightened. "I need to make calls, strategy sessions. You should rest." "I'm not tired." "You will be. Adrenaline crash hits around midnight. Trust me." He wasn't wrong. Elena could feel it already, the shakiness in her limbs, the exhaustion waiting behind her eyes. But she didn't want to be alone yet. Alone meant thinking, and thinking meant processing, and she wasn't ready to process. "Can I stay?" The question came out smaller than she intended. "Just for a while. I don't want to. I just need people right now." Dante studied her. Something shifted in his expression. Not softening, but understanding, maybe. "Okay, sit. Don't interrupt the calls unless the building's on fire." She sat on the couch. He settled in a chair across from her, phone to his ear. The conversations were rapid fire, Italian mostly, with bits of English. Names she didn't recognize, locations that meant nothing. But the tone was clear, planning, coordinating, preparing for retaliation. Between calls, he'd look at her, check that she was okay. It was such a small gesture, barely noticeable, but it anchored her somehow. Reminded her she wasn't alone in this glass villa on a secret island. Around 11, Sophia arrived. How she'd gotten here, Elena didn't know, but she appeared with a tray, food, coffee, water. "You both need to eat," she said. No preamble, just fact. The food was simple. Sandwiches, fruit, cheese. Elena hadn't realized she was hungry until she started eating. Then she couldn't stop, her body demanding fuel after burning through so much fear. Dante ate methodically, still on calls. He'd take a bite, chew, swallow, continue talking. Multitasking violence and nutrition. Finally, around midnight, he ended the last call, set the phone down, rubbed his eyes. "It's done. Volkov's going to get a response tomorrow night. Proportional. Public. Should make the point." "What kind of response?" Elena asked. "The kind that leaves bodies." He said it matter-of-factly, like discussing the weather. "One of his clubs. We'll hit it when it's closed, no civilian casualties. But his people inside, they're fair game." "You're going to kill them." "Yes." No hesitation, no moral wrestling, just yes. Elena's stomach turned. "How many?" "However many are there, 5, 10, doesn't matter. The message is what matters." He stood, poured more whiskey. "This bothering you? Should it?" "Most people would say yes. Most people would be horrified, would try to talk me out of it, appeal to my better nature." He looked at her. "You're not doing that." "Would it work?" "No." "Then why waste my breath?" Elena took a drink of water. Her hands were steady. That surprised her. "I signed up for this. Maybe not explicitly, but I knew what you were. What this world is. Being horrified now doesn't change anything. You're adapting faster than expected. Or I'm in shock and this is all going to hit me later." "Maybe." Dante moved to the windows, stared out at darkness. "You asked about the woman before you. The one who drowned." Elena's breath caught. "You don't have to." "Her name was Isabella. We weren't married, just dating. 2 years. She was from another family, Castellano's niece, actually. It was supposed to build an alliance." His voice was flat, reciting facts. "She couldn't handle it, the violence. She kept trying to fix me, change me, make me into something I'm not. Thought love could redeem me." "What happened?" "She saw something she shouldn't have. One of my men torturing an informant. She ran, got in her car, drove toward the police station. She never made it." He turned. The official story is she lost control, went into the river, drowned before anyone could pull her out. And the real story? The same. She really did lose control, really did drown. His eyes were cold. But whether that was panic or help, I'll never know. And I've stopped asking. The implication hung in the air. Someone in Dante's organization might have killed her, or might not have. The ambiguity was its own kind of horror. You think I'll end up the same way? Elena asked. I think you're smarter, less idealistic. You're not trying to save me. He came back to the couch, sat closer this time. Isabella wanted me to be different. You just want to survive. That's a more realistic goal. Comforting. It's honest. His hand moved, almost touched her knee, then pulled back. I can't promise you safety, or happiness, or anything resembling a normal life. But I can promise you resources, protection, and honesty about what this is. A transaction. Yes. Then why does it feel like more? The question escaped before she could stop it. Dante went still. Does it? Elena's heart was pounding. This was dangerous territory. Feelings weren't in the contract. Attachment was a liability. She should retreat, rebuild the walls. Instead, she leaned forward. You chose me. Not just for convenience. You said you saw me, recognized something. That's not transaction language. Maybe I was romanticizing necessity. Or maybe you're lying to yourself. She met his eyes. I'm adapting, learning your world. But you're adapting too. Letting me see the nightmares, the scars, the parts you hide from everyone else. That's not business. The silence stretched. Outside, waves crashed. Inside, something fundamental was shifting. Dante's hand finally made contact, touched her face, gentle, which somehow made it more devastating than violence would have been. This is a mistake, he said quietly. Probably. It'll complicate everything. I know. And it doesn't change what I am, what I'll do tomorrow night, what I'll keep doing. I'm not asking you to change, Elena's voice was steady. I'm just saying we can stop pretending this is only a contract. His thumb traced her cheekbone. The touch was so careful, like she might break. If this becomes real, it becomes a weakness, something they can use against me, against us. It's already real. Pretending otherwise doesn't make it less dangerous. Dante's laugh was rough. You're going to get us both killed. Maybe, but at least we'll be honest about it. He kissed her. Not gentle, not tentative, but desperate, like he'd been holding back for longer than 3 days. Like he'd been watching her for months and finally gave himself permission to stop resisting. Elena kissed back, her hands in his hair pulling him closer. This wasn't romance. This was acknowledgement, recognition. Two people who'd been pretending crashing into the truth. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. This doesn't leave this room, he said. Outside, we're still the contract, still playing roles. Agreed. And if you change your mind, if this becomes too much, you tell me, immediately. Same goes for you. He pulled back enough to look at her, really look. I'm going to kill people tomorrow, probably a lot of them, and I won't feel bad about it. You sure you can live with that? Elena thought about her father, dying because of debts, about violence as currency, about the world she'd stepped into and the person she was becoming. I'm sure I can live with you, she said. The rest I'll figure out. Dante stood, pulled her up with him. Come on. You need actual sleep. He walked her upstairs, to her room, stopped at the door. I'll be down the hall if you need anything. I know. He hesitated, then kissed her forehead. Quick, almost chaste compared to moments before. Good night, Elena. Good night. She watched him walk away, disappear into the east wing. Then she went into her room and closed the door. The bed was enormous. The view out the window was darkness and ocean. She changed into sleep clothes, silk pajamas she hadn't chosen, and lay down. Sleep didn't come. Her mind replayed everything. The shooting, the range, Angelo's assessment, the revelation about Isabella, the kiss that changed everything. Somewhere in this villa, Dante was planning murder, coordinating violence, being exactly what he was. And she'd kissed him anyway, had meant it. Was falling for a man who killed people the way other men filed taxes. Necessary, routine, unremarkable. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're making a mistake. He'll destroy you like he destroys everything. Leave while you still can." A concerned party. Elena stared at the message, then deleted it, because whether it was a mistake or not, she was committed now. Not just to the contract, to him, to whatever came next. She finally slept around 3 a.m. The nightmares, when they came, were vivid. Bullets and blood and drowning in dark water. But through it all, a hand pulling her up, scarred knuckles and surprising warmth. When she woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows. The ocean was brilliant blue, beautiful and dangerous. Like everything else in this new life. Morning brought clarity and coffee. Elena found the kitchen already occupied. Sophia and 2 men she didn't recognize, all eating breakfast in comfortable silence. They looked up when she entered. "Mrs. Morello?" Sophia gestured to the counter. "Coffee's fresh. Help yourself." Elena poured a cup, strong, black, perfect. She sat at the island, trying not to feel like an intruder. One of the men, dark hair, scar through his eyebrow, nodded at her. "Marco, I run security here." "Elena, I run..." "Nothing, apparently." He smiled. "You run Dante. That's more than nothing." "I don't..." "You got him to bring you here, to the safe house. He doesn't bring people here, ever." Isabella never saw this place. Marco took a bite of eggs. "So yeah, you run something." The other man grunted agreement, older, 50s, the look of someone who'd been in the life forever. Carlo. "Logistics, and Marco's right. You being here means you matter. Boss doesn't protect things that don't matter." Elena didn't know what to say to that. She sipped her coffee and felt assessed. Sophia changed the subject. "Dante's on the terrace. He'll want to brief you about tonight." "Tonight?" The response to Volkov. "You'll need to know the timeline, even if you're not involved directly." "Right. The murders." She'd almost forgotten between kissing and sleeping. Elena finished her coffee, then headed outside. The terrace was stunning. Infinity pool, lounge chairs, view of the ocean that belonged in magazines. And Dante, standing at the railing, phone to his ear. He saw her, held up one finger, finished his call. "Sleep okay?" he asked. "Eventually. You?" "I don't sleep much." He gestured for her to join him at the railing. "We need to talk about tonight." I gathered. "The hit happens at 10 p.m., Volkov's club, like I said. My team goes in, neutralizes targets, leaves a message. I won't be there personally, too high profile, but I'll be coordinating from here." "So I just wait?" "You stay visible, with me. That's the point. Show everyone I'm not hiding, not scared, not weakened by having a wife." His voice was clinical. "You'll sit with me while I run the operation. Be present, be calm. While people die." "Yes." Elena looked out at the water, tried to find moral footing and couldn't. Everything was too complicated, too layered. "Okay?" "Okay?" Dante turned to face her. "That's it? No arguments, no moral speeches? Would it change anything?" "No." "Then okay." She met his eyes. "I meant what I said last night. I can live with what you are, but I need you to be honest about it. Don't hide the ugly parts and expect me to pretend they don't exist." Dante studied her for a long moment. "You're either very brave or very broken. Can't it be both?" "Probably is." He moved closer. In daylight, without the alcohol and adrenaline, the intimacy felt different, more real, more dangerous. "Last night was honest," Elena finished. "We can pretend it wasn't. Go back to the contract language. But I don't think either of us wants to. What I want and what's smart are different things. When has that ever stopped you?" He almost smiled. "Fair point." His hand found hers, laced fingers. "This stays between us. The rest of the world sees the arrangement, only we know it's become something else." Agreed. They stood like that, holding hands, watching the ocean. 2 people who'd made a transaction discovering it had terms neither of them had anticipated. The moment broke when Sophia appeared. "Boss, Angelo's on the secure line, says it's urgent." Dante's expression shifted immediately. Business mode. He released Elena's hand. "I'll take it in the office." He disappeared inside. Elena stayed on the terrace, trying to process. Last night had felt inevitable, necessary. This morning felt fragile, like they were building something out of materials too dangerous to hold steady. Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. He'll use you until you're broken, then discard you. This is your last warning. She deleted it, blocked the number. Whoever it was didn't understand. She was already broken. Had been since her father gambled away everything that mattered. Dante wasn't breaking her. He was just showing her how to weaponize the pieces. The rest of the day passed in strange normalcy. Elena swam in the pool, read a book from the villa's library, ate lunch on the terrace while Dante worked in the office. It felt like vacation if you ignored the armed guards patrolling the perimeter and the fact that her husband was planning a massacre. Around 6 p.m., Sophia brought her a dress. Black, elegant, appropriate for what? Watching people die? You need to look the part, Sophia said. Strong, unshakable, the kind of woman who belongs next to Dante Morello. Elena dressed, did her makeup carefully, hair pulled back but soft. When she looked in the mirror, she saw someone who could convincingly be a crime lord's wife. The transformation was complete. At 9:30, Dante called her to the office. The room was dominated by monitors, multiple screens showing security feeds, communications dashboards, maps with marked locations. It looked like a military command center. Dante sat at the center console. Carlo and Marco flanked him. The atmosphere was focused, tense. Sit, Dante said, gesturing to a chair beside him. Elena sat. On the screens, she could see the club, Volkov's place. Neon signs, empty parking lot. It looked like any other nightclub. Status, Dante said. Marco pulled up a schematic. Teams in position. 4-man entry team, 2-man extraction, 2 snipers on Overwatch. Targets inside number 6, 3 security, 2 bartenders, 1 manager. All confirm Volkov family. Civilian clearance? Buildings closed for renovations. Only family personnel inside. Collateral risk is 0. Good. Dante checked his watch. 10 minutes. Final comms check. The team radioed in. Code names, not real names. Their voices were calm, professional, like this was routine, because for them, it was. Elena watched the screens, watched the minutes tick down. Her heart was pounding, but her breathing stayed controlled. She'd promised to be present, to be calm. She'd keep that promise. At exactly 10 p.m., Dante gave the order. Execute. On the monitors, figures in black moved. They breached the club's back entrance, door exploding inward, clean and fast. The feed switched to helmet cams. Elena watched them move through the building. Systematic, methodical, room clearing, target acquisition. The first gunshot sounded tinny through the speakers, then screaming. Brief, cut short. She forced herself not to look away. More shots, more rooms. The team called out confirmations. Target 1 down. Target 2 down. 3 and 4 neutralized. It took less than 4 minutes. When it was over, the team leader's voice came through. All targets eliminated. Message left as requested. Exfiltrating now. Copy, Dante said. Clean exit. No traces. The screen showed them leaving, disappearing into vehicles that vanished into the city. Dante leaned back. Done. Volkov will get the message by midnight. Elena realized she was gripping the armrest hard enough to hurt. She released it slowly. You okay? Dante asked quietly. I don't know. Honesty felt important. I just watched people die. Yes. And I didn't stop you. No. Does that make me complicit? Dante turned his chair to face her. That makes you pragmatic. Those men would have killed you given the chance, would have tortured you to get to me. This is the world. You don't have to like it. You just have to survive it. Elena met his eyes. I'm not sure what I am anymore. You're adapting. He stood, helped her up. Come on, let's get out of this room. They walked out to the terrace. The night was clear, stars everywhere. The ocean sound was constant, soothing. It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like standing on the edge of something vast and unknowable. How do you do it? Elena asked. Kill people and then just exist? Eat dinner, sleep, live normally? I compartmentalize. The business is business. The rest is rest. If I let them bleed together, I'd go insane. He poured them both drinks. Isabella couldn't do that. She saw the violence, and it contaminated everything else. She looked at me and only saw the blood. And you think I'm different? I think you understand cost-benefit analysis better than she did. He handed her a glass. You're not trying to redeem me. You're just trying to coexist with reality. Elena took the glass but didn't drink. What if I can't? What if this is the thing that breaks me? Then it breaks you, and we deal with that when it happens. His voice was matter of fact. But I don't think it will. You've got more steel in you than you realize. How do you know? Because you're still here, still standing, still asking questions instead of running. He clinked his glass against hers. That's not weakness, that's adaptation. They drank. The whiskey burned less than before. She was getting used to it. They were getting used to each other. At 11, Dante's phone rang. He checked the screen, smiled coldly. Volkov. He answered, put it on speaker. You killed my people. The voice was heavily accented, Russian, furious. You killed mine first. I'm just evening the score. Dante's tone was conversational. You want to escalate? I'll match you. You want to back off? We can negotiate peace. Your choice. This isn't over. It is if you're smart. But if you're not, if you want to keep testing me, I'll burn down everything you've built, starting with your casino on 5th Street. A pause. The one where your daughter works as a hostess. The line went dead. Elena stared at him. His daughter? I wouldn't touch her. But he doesn't know that. Dante pocketed his phone. Fear is more effective than actual violence. Most of the time. And the rest of the time? I do what I just did tonight. He moved to the railing. This is the dance. Push, push back. Establish boundaries. Volkov will retreat for now. Rebuild. Try again in 6 months or a year. And we'll do this all over again. Forever? Until one of us dies or gets smart enough to leave the life. He looked at her. I'm not getting smart. So probably until I die. How long do you think you have? My father made it to 58. I'm 34. So maybe 24 more years. Maybe 24 minutes. No way to know. His expression was neutral, like discussing weather. Does that bother you? That you might die? That you're attached to someone with an expiration date? Elena thought about it. Really thought. Everyone has an expiration date. You just know yours is likely sooner. That's almost more honest. Depressing way to look at it. I'm a depressing person lately. Dante laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was rough, unpracticed, but genuine. Yeah, you really are. They stood in comfortable silence. The night wrapped around them. Somewhere in the city, Volkov was dealing with dead employees and a message written in blood. Somewhere, the consequences of tonight were rippling outward. But here, on this island, in this moment, Elena felt something she hadn't expected. Safe. Not because the danger was gone, but because she was learning its language, learning to stand inside it without shattering. Dante's hand found hers again. Come to bed. It wasn't a command. It was an invitation. Your bed or mine? She asked. Does it matter? Not anymore. They went to his room, larger than hers, windows overlooking the ocean, the same view, different angle. They didn't talk, just undressed and climbed into bed like it was normal, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. He pulled her close, not sexual, just close, his chest against her back, arm around her waist. I'm not good at this, he said quietly. The intimacy part. I can do violence and strategy. The rest I'm figuring out as I go. Then we're even. Elena laced her fingers with his. I can do survival. The rest is new. We'll figure it out together. Or die trying. Or that. She felt him smile against her shoulder. Then his breathing evened out, deepened. He was asleep within minutes. Elena lay awake longer, processing. Tonight she'd watched murder happen in real time, had sat beside her husband while he orchestrated death, had felt nothing except a strange, detached acceptance. And now she was in his bed, in his arms, choosing him despite, or maybe because of, what he was. The contract said 1 year, but her heart was writing different terms, dangerous terms, the kind that led to drowning in dark water or bullets through tinted glass. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt alive. Finally, she slept. The nightmares came again, but this time, when the water rose, she didn't fight it. She learned to breathe underwater. And when she woke hours later, Dante was still beside her, still holding her, still breathing steady and sure. The point of no return had passed. They were in this together now. Whatever this became, the first sign of betrayal came with breakfast. Elena woke tangled in sheets that smelled like Dante, cologne and gunpowder and something darker she couldn't name. He was already gone, his side of the bed cold. Morning light cut through the windows in sharp geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Her phone was buzzing. 7 missed calls, all from Castellano. She called back. "Mrs. Morello." His voice was tight, wrong. "We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "The kind where you need to get Dante on a secure line, now." "He's already up, probably in the office. He's not answering. Try him. Tell him St. Catherine's called. Code red." The line went dead. Elena's stomach dropped. St. Catherine's. Her father's facility. She threw on clothes, yesterday's jeans, a sweater, and ran barefoot down the hallway. Dante was in the office, surrounded by monitors showing news feeds. His expression was stone. "What happened?" she asked. He turned. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. "Your father's missing." The words didn't make sense. Missing? He's in a hospital, private facility. How? Someone took him 2 hours ago, walked right past security, disconnected his monitors, wheeled him out in a transport chair. Professional job. No alarms, no witnesses until he was already gone. Elena's legs went numb. She grabbed the desk to stay upright. "Who?" "That's what we're trying to determine." He pulled up security footage. Grainy, black and white. A figure in scrubs pushing a wheelchair, face obscured by a surgical mask and cap. They knew the layout, knew the shift changes. This was planned. Volkov? Maybe. Or someone using the chaos from last night as cover. Dante's jaw was tight. Castellano's running down leads, but Elena... What? They left a message. He handed her a folder. Thin. Manila. The same kind Castellano had used to present her contract. Inside was a single photograph, her father. Awake, terrified, in some concrete room she didn't recognize. He was holding today's newspaper, proof of life, and across his chest, written in marker, 72 hours. Beneath the photo, typed text. Trade. Her for him. Alone. We'll send coordinates. No tricks or he dies screaming. Elena's vision tunneled. Her breath came in short gasps. They want me. You're not going. Dante's voice was iron. This is bait. They take you. They have leverage over me. Your father's already dead. This is just theater to draw you out. You don't know that. I know how this works. They're not taking hostages for ransom. They're taking them for control. He moved toward her. We'll find him another way. I've got teams mobilizing, contacts reaching out. In 72 hours? Elena's voice cracked. You think you can find one man in this entire city in 3 days? I've done harder. Not with my father's life. She looked at the photo again. Victor Varelli. Broken, scared, finally paying for sins that should have ended with him. He's alive because of me, because I signed your contract, and now he's going to die because I did. That's not... It is. She threw the folder, paper scattered. This is the cost. You said people would use me as leverage. You were right. And now I have to choose. Let him die or give them what they want. Dante's expression hardened. You're not choosing suicide. It's not suicide, it's a trade. It's the same thing. He grabbed her shoulders, not rough, but firm, grounding. Listen to me. Whoever took him, they're not planning to let either of you walk away. You go to them, you both die. At least this way, one of you survives. You're asking me to let my father die. I'm asking you to stay alive. Elena jerked away from him. Her mind was racing, fragmenting. Every calculation led to the same conclusion. There was no good choice, just degrees of horror. I need air. She pushed past him, out of the office, onto the terrace. The ocean was indifferent, beautiful and cruel. Waves crashed against rocks below, over and over. the same pattern forever. She heard Dante follow, felt him stop a few feet behind her. I can't lose him. Her voice was raw. He's all I have left. You have me. For how long? You said it yourself. You're on borrowed time. Everyone in your world is. She turned to face him. My father's a drunk and a gambler, and he ruined my life. But he's still my father, and I can't just let him die to save myself. Even if saving him kills you. Even then, Dante's expression shifted. Something like pain crossed his face before he locked it down. I can't protect you if you're determined to destroy yourself. I'm not asking you to protect me. I'm asking you to help me save him. By walking into a trap. By going in smart. With a plan. With backup. Elena moved closer. You're good at this. Strategy, violence, all of it. Help me, please. He stared at her for a long moment. She could see the war happening behind his eyes. Calculation versus emotion, business versus whatever this had become between them. Finally, he exhaled. If we do this, we do it my way. Total control. You follow every order without question. Understood? Understood. And if it goes bad, if the plan fails, you don't sacrifice yourself. You run. You survive. That's non-negotiable. Dante. Non-negotiable. His voice was steel. I'm not watching another woman die because she thought love was stronger than bullets. The comparison to Isabella hung in the air. Elena nodded. Okay, your rules. He pulled out his phone. Castellano, conference room. Bring Marco, Carlo, and Sofia. We're planning an extraction. The conference room was windowless. White walls, long table, the antiseptic feeling of a space designed for classified discussions. Maps covered one wall, city layouts, building schematics, traffic patterns. Castellano arrived first. He looked like he'd aged 5 years overnight. This is a mistake. Noted. Dante spread the photo on the table. But we're doing it anyway, so let's make it a smart mistake. The others filed in. Marco, Carlo, Sofia, all wearing the same expression, grim acceptance of a bad situation getting worse. 72 hours to find and extract a hostage from unknown location with unknown enemy force. Marco studied the photo. Odds aren't great. Odds are terrible, Dante corrected. But we work with what we have. Castellano, where are we on identification? Running facial recognition on the security footage. So far, nothing. The scrubs were generic, available at any medical supply store. The wheelchair was stolen from a different facility 3 weeks ago. Whoever planned this knew to avoid patterns. What about the room? Elena pointed to the photo. Concrete walls, exposed pipes. Industrial? Could be. Or basement, or warehouse. Half the city looks like that. Carlo pulled up a map on the tablet. Without better intel, we're searching blind. Sofia leaned forward. They said they'd send coordinates. When? Unknown, but they gave a 72-hour deadline, so probably within the first 24. Dante's finger traced the photo. This is fresh. Look at the newspaper. Today's date, which means they're keeping him somewhere with access to current materials, not completely isolated. Or they grabbed the paper before taking him. Marco wasn't buying it. We can't assume logic. These people are running an emotion play. They want Mrs. Morello panicked, desperate, making bad decisions. Then we don't give them that. Dante looked at Elena. You stay calm. We wait for contact. When they send coordinates, we scout the location, identify variables, plan the approach. No cowboy bullshit. Elena nodded. Her hands were shaking under the table. She pressed them flat against her thighs, forcing stillness. The meeting continued. Contingency plans, equipment lists, communication protocols. It sounded professional, organized, like they did this every week. Maybe they did. Around noon, Elena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Come alone or he dies. Coordinates to follow. She showed it to Dante. His jaw tightened. Tomorrow. He looked at Castellano. That gives us 32 hours to prep. Not enough, but workable. What if they're watching? Elena asked. What if they see you following me? They won't. We'll use distance surveillance, rotating vehicles, aerial support if needed. Dante was already planning, his mind 3 steps ahead. You'll wear a tracker, subcutaneous, can't be found with a metal detector. We'll have your location in real time. And if they scan for that, the tech's passive. No transmitter, just a beacon we can ping. Sophia pulled up specs on her tablet. It's what we use for high-risk assets. Implanted here, she tapped her collarbone. Small incision, local anesthetic, heals in 48 hours. Elena's stomach turned. You want to put a tracker inside me? I want to make sure we can find you if this goes sideways. Dante's voice was calm, rational. This is non-negotiable. You go in blind, you're on your own. You go in tracked, we can extract you. And my father? We extract him too, if possible. The qualification hung heavy. If possible. Translation: if he's still alive when we get there. Elena closed her eyes, tried to find solid ground in a situation that was all quicksand. Okay, the tracker. When? Now. Sophia will handle it. Clean procedure, minimal risk. Sophia stood. Come on, medical suite's downstairs. The medical suite was too well equipped for a safe house. Surgical lights, monitoring equipment, cabinets full of supplies that suggested serious trauma care happened here regularly. Elena sat on the exam table while Sophia prepped. Alcohol swabs, local anesthetic, a device that looked more like a pen than medical equipment. This'll sting. Sophia's hands were steady. But it's fast. The needle pierced skin near Elena's collarbone. Sharp pain, then numbness spreading. Sophia worked quickly, inserting the tracker, a grain of rice-sized capsule beneath the skin. A small bandage covered the incision. Done. Don't touch it for 24 hours. After that, forget it's there. Elena touched the bandage gently. Beneath it, she could feel the foreign object, a piece of technology living inside her body. The physical manifestation of how far she'd come from normal. Does it hurt? Sophia asked. Not unkindly. Not really. Elena looked at her. How many times have you done this? Enough to be good at it. Sophia cleaned up the supplies. You're handling this better than most. Am I? Feels like I'm barely holding together. That's normal. Fear's fine. Panic's the problem. Sophia sat on the adjacent stool. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you love him? Dante. The question caught Elena off guard. I don't know, maybe. Is it love if it's only been a week? In this life? A week's a lifetime. Sophia's expression was unreadable. I ask because love makes people stupid, makes them take risks they shouldn't. Isabella loved him, and it got her killed. Everyone keeps mentioning Isabella. What really happened to her? Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Then, she saw Dante torture someone, an informant who'd betrayed the family. She walked in on it by accident, wrong place, wrong time. The man was barely alive, begging, and Dante was... She stopped. Started again. He was doing what he does, what he has to do in his position, but Isabella couldn't reconcile it. The man she loved with the man who could do that. So she ran. She ran, got in her car, drove toward the police station, lost control on a bridge, went into the river. Sophia met Elena's eyes. The official story is accident. The whispered story is that someone from the family helped her lose control. But Dante's never said which is true. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't want to. Elena's hand went to the bandage over her tracker. You think I'll end up the same way? I think you're different, less idealistic. You knew what Dante was before you signed. Isabella thought she could change him. Sophia stood. Just remember, in this world, love is a weapon. People will use it against you, against him. The question is whether you're strong enough to survive being weaponized. She left Elena alone in the medical suite. Elena sat there, hand over her heart, feeling the tracker beneath her skin. A homing beacon. A lifeline. A leash. She didn't know which scared her more. The rest of the day passed intense preparation. Dante ran scenarios. What if they moved the location? What if multiple hostiles? What if her father was already dead and this was just a kill box? Elena tried to eat, couldn't, tried to rest, failed. Her mind kept circling back to the photo. Her father terrified, holding evidence of his own mortality. This was her fault. She'd brought danger into his life by marrying Dante, by thinking she could have both, her father's survival and her own safety. The universe was correcting that hubris. Around sunset, Dante found her on the terrace. "You should try to sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long." "I can't." She didn't look at him. "My brain won't stop." He sat beside her, close but not touching. "Tell me about him, your father." "Why?" "Because if we're risking our lives to save him, I should know who he is, beyond the gambling and the debt." Elena thought about it, tried to find memories that weren't tainted by resentment. "He taught me to play poker when I was 8, said understanding odds was more valuable than understanding people. He was wrong, but I didn't know that then." "What else?" "He made pancakes every Sunday. Terrible pancakes, burnt on the outside, raw in the middle. But he'd serve them like they were gourmet. My mom would laugh and eat them anyway." Her voice cracked. "After she died, he stopped making them. Stopped a lot of things." "That's when the gambling got bad?" "That's when everything got bad. He couldn't handle grief. So he medicated with cards and booze and bad decisions." She finally looked at Dante. "I should hate him for what he put me through, for the debt that led me to you. But I can't. He's just broken. And broken things don't deserve to die alone in concrete rooms." Dante's hand found hers. "We'll get him back." "You don't know that." "No, but I know I'll try. For you." The simplicity of it made her chest tight. "Why?" "Because somewhere between the contract and now, you became more than an arrangement." His thumb traced her knuckles. "I don't know what to call it. Don't know if it's smart or suicidal. But it's real." "Real enough to die for?" "Real enough to kill for." His eyes met hers. "I've ended people for less." It should have sounded threatening. Instead, it sounded like a promise. They sat until dark, holding hands, watching the ocean erase the day. Tomorrow, Elena would walk into danger, would trade herself for a man who'd traded her first, would discover whether survival was worth the cost. Tonight, she just wanted to pretend they had more time. Check. The coordinates came at 7 a.m. Elena's phone buzzed. A text with a pin drop. North Side, Industrial District, abandoned fish processing plant near the docks. Dante pulled up satellite imagery within minutes. The plant was massive. Multiple buildings, access points, plenty of places to hide hostiles or bodies. "It's a trap," Marco stated the obvious. Classic kill box. Limited exits, lots of cover for ambush. "Of course it's a trap." Dante zoomed in. "But it's a trap we're walking into anyway. So let's spring it on our terms." They spent the day planning, approach vectors, extraction routes, fallback positions. It was like watching someone choreograph a dance where every wrong step meant death. Elena tried to stay present, to absorb the information. But her mind kept drifting to her father. Was he scared? Hurt? Did he know she was coming? At 6 p.m., Sophia brought her clothes. Black tactical pants, fitted jacket, boots with reinforced soles. "You'll wear a vest under the jacket. Lightweight, flexible. Won't stop rifle rounds, but it'll help with handguns." Sophia helped her into the gear. "And this?" She handed Elena a small blade. "Ceramic. Won't set off metal detectors. Strap it to your ankle." Elena took the knife. It was light, wickedly sharp. She'd never stabbed anyone. Wasn't sure she could. "Just in case," Sophia said, reading her hesitation. "Hopefully you won't need it. But if you do, don't hesitate. Hesitation kills." At 7 p.m., they loaded into vehicles. Elena rode with Dante. The drive was silent, tense. City lights gave way to industrial decay. The docks smelled like salt and rust and forgotten things. They parked 3 blocks from the plant. Dante turned to her. "Last chance to back out." "Not backing out." "Then remember the rules. You go in, make the trade. We move in 30 seconds after. You hit the ground when shooting starts. You don't try to be a hero." "Got it." He pulled her close, kissed her hard, desperate. "Don't die." "Same to you." She got out of the car, started walking. The plant loomed ahead, broken windows like empty eyes, graffiti covering walls that had once been white. The door was open, waiting. Elena's hand went to her collarbone, felt the tracker beneath her skin. They were watching. They'd come. She stepped inside. The smell hit first. Rot and chemicals and something metallic. Blood, probably. Old or new, she couldn't tell. Hello? Her voice echoed in the vast space. Footsteps. From the shadows, a figure emerged. Not who she expected. Castellano. He was holding a gun, pointed at her. Hello, Elena. Her brain couldn't process it. What? Shut up. Walk forward, slowly. She walked, her mind racing. Castellano. Dante's right hand. His most trusted advisor. Here. With a gun. Betrayal crystallizing into horrible understanding. Where's my father? Safe, for now. Castellano gestured to a door. Through there. She went through, into a large room, empty except for a chair in the center. Her father sat in it. Bound, gagged, alive. Relief flooded through her. Then terror as she realized the chair was wired. Explosives. Enough to turn the room into a crater. Dad, don't touch him. Castellano's voice was calm, professional. The dead man's switch is active. I let go of this trigger, you both die. Elena's hands shook. Why are you doing this? Because Dante's weakness is finally exploitable. And you're that weakness. Castellano moved closer. He was untouchable for years. No attachments, no vulnerabilities. Then you showed up. And suddenly he's making decisions with his heart instead of his head. The Volkov hit. That wasn't about territory. No, that was me. Setting up the chaos. Making it look like external threats. Castellano smiled. Well, actually, the threat was already inside. You're working for Volkov. I'm working for myself. Volkov's just paying well. He checked his watch. Your husband will be here soon, probably already positioning his team, and when he comes through that door, he'll have a choice, you or the Empire. Elena's mind raced. The tracker. Dante could hear this, was hearing this, adjusting the plan. He'll kill you for this. Maybe, if he survives. Castellano pulled out a phone, made a call. They're here. Execute Phase 2. Phase 2. What was Phase 2? The answer came seconds later. An explosion. Distant but massive. The building shook. Castellano smiled. That was your husband's extraction team. All of them. Gone. Elena's knees went weak. No, yes. Car bomb. Remote detonation. Dante, Marco, Carlo, Sofia, anyone loyal to him, dead or dying. He moved to the window, looked out at the burning wreckage visible in the distance. Now it's just you, your father, and me. And soon, just me. Dante's not dead. She said it with more certainty than she felt. You don't know him. He survived worse. Maybe. But even if he survived, his empire's finished. I've already made calls. Other families are moving in. By tomorrow, the Morello territories will be carved up and distributed. Dante will be a man without power, without resources. Castellano turned back to her. Without you. He raised the gun. Elena closed her eyes. A shot rang out. She waited for pain, for darkness. Neither came. She opened her eyes. Castellano was on the ground, blood spreading from his chest, the dead man's switch falling from his hand. Behind him, in the doorway, Dante stood, bleeding from his temple, covered in soot, but alive. Get down, he shouted. Elena threw herself flat. The switch hit the floor. For one eternal second, nothing happened. Then the world exploded. The blast wave threw Elena backward. Her head cracked against concrete. Vision went white, then black, then red. Sound disappeared, replaced by a high-pitched ringing. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't move. Strong hands grabbed her. Dante, his mouth was moving, but she couldn't hear. He was dragging her toward the door. She looked back. Her father. The chair was empty. No, not empty, just... She turned away. Some things you couldn't unsee. Dante pulled her outside, into air thick with smoke and debris. His team, what was left of it, was there. Not dead. Not all of them. Marco. Bleeding but functional. Two others she didn't recognize. Dante was shouting orders. She still couldn't hear properly. Just watched his mouth move. Watched him coordinate. Watched him transform from the man who held her at night into something else. Something forged in violence. They moved. Away from the burning building, into vehicles that appeared from nowhere. Elena's hearing started to return, muffled, like underwater, but present. Containment protocol. Every asset, every location. Lock it down. Dante's voice was ragged. Castellano's contacts need to be identified and eliminated. Tonight. The families will move fast, Marco said. We've got maybe 6 hours before they try to claim your territories. Then we move faster. Dante looked at Elena. Can you walk? She nodded. Wasn't sure it was true, but she stood anyway. They got in a car, drove through streets that looked normal. People living lives where the biggest problem was traffic, not knowing that miles away, an empire was fracturing. Dante's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He answered each call with the same clipped efficiency, assessing damage, redirecting resources, rebuilding in real time. Elena sat in silence, staring at her hands. They were shaking again. Wouldn't stop. Her father was dead. She'd walked into that building to save him, and instead she'd watched him die. The math was brutal. She'd traded her father for Dante's safety. The contract had finally extracted its full price. Elena. Dante's voice cut through. Look at me. She looked. I'm sorry. About your father. About all of it. You killed Castellano. Yes. He was your friend. He was my employee who betrayed me. There's a difference. Dante's expression was stone. I trusted him. That was my mistake. And your father paid for it. No. Elena's voice was hollow. I paid for it. This is what you warned me about. Attachment in your world. It gets people killed. Elena, I'm not angry. I'm just... She didn't know what she was. Numb, empty, changed. Take me somewhere. Anywhere. I can't think right now. They drove to another safe house. Not the island. Somewhere in the city. Apartment building, penthouse level. Anonymous and secure. Inside, Dante made more calls. Elena walked to the window. Looked out at the city. All those lights. All those people. None of them knowing that tonight everything had shifted. Her phone buzzed. A text from unknown number. She almost deleted it. Then looked. I warned you. He destroys everything he touches. And now you've lost everything too. Welcome to his world. Isabella Elena stared at the message. Isabella. Who drowned 3 years ago? Except. She typed back. Who is this really? The response came immediately. Someone who survived him. Barely. Get out while you still can. The phone slipped from Elena's hand. Dante appeared beside her. Picked it up. Read the messages. His face went white. That's impossible, he whispered. Is it? He dialed a number. I need a trace on this number, now. A pause. I don't care, do it. He hung up, looked at Elena. Isabella's dead. I saw the body. I identified her. Then who? I don't know. But someone wants us to think she's alive. His hand shook as he poured a drink. Someone's playing games. Or she really did survive. And she's been waiting, planning. Elena's mind was fracturing. Too much, too fast. How much of this was real, Dante? How much was manipulation? All of it was real. Your team nearly died tonight. My father did die. Castellano betrayed you, and now a ghost is texting me. Her voice rose. What part of that is real? The part where I'm still here, still fighting. He grabbed her shoulders. I know you're in shock. I know this is hell, but I need you to hold together. Just a little longer. Why? What's left to hold together for? For survival, for revenge, for... He stopped, started again. For us. There is no us, there's just wreckage. She pulled away. You were right from the beginning. This was a transaction. I should have kept it that way. You don't mean that. I do, because if I don't mean it, then my father died for feelings, and that's too much to carry. Dante's expression shattered, just for a second, then rebuilt itself into something harder. Fine. Transaction it is. His voice was cold. You fulfilled your part, stayed visible, played the role. Your father's debts are cleared. The contract stands. You can leave whenever you want. Just like that? Just like that. He turned away. I'll have money transferred. Enough to start over. Anywhere you want. Consider it severance. Elena wanted to scream, to cry, to break something. Instead, she just stood there, empty. I'll leave in the morning. Good. He walked away, left her alone in the strange apartment with her grief and her guilt and the ghost of a dead woman texting her phone. Elena sat on the floor. Finally, the tears came. Not for her father. She'd grieve him later when she had the luxury of falling apart. She cried for the person she'd been a week ago, the one who thought survival was the hardest thing, who didn't know that surviving could cost more than dying. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Isabella's number. The warehouse? Pier 47, midnight, come alone, I'll tell you everything. Elena stared at it. Every instinct screamed trap. But she'd already walked into one trap tonight. What was one more? She pocketed the phone. At 11:30, she slipped out of the apartment. Dante was in another room, on calls, rebuilding his fractured empire. He didn't notice her leave. The streets were empty, cold. Elena walked toward the docks, toward whatever truth or lie was waiting. The warehouse at Pier 47 was dark, silent. The door was unlocked. She went inside, a single light in the center. Beneath it, a woman, dark hair, late 20s, face Elena recognized from photos Dante kept hidden. Isabella, alive. Hello, Elena. Her voice was soft, sad. I'm sorry about your father. I'm sorry about all of it, but you needed to see what Dante really is, before you made the same mistakes I did. Elena's world tilted. You've been alive this whole time? I've been surviving. There's a difference. Isabella stepped forward. I didn't drown. I faked my death. With Castellano's help, he wanted out too, wanted to destroy Dante from inside. We've been planning this for 3 years. Castellano's dead. I know. I was watching. His part's done. Isabella's eyes were hollow. Now it's just you and me. And the truth. What truth? That Dante killed your father tonight. Not Castellano. Not the explosion. Isabella pulled out a tablet, showed Elena footage. Watch. The screen showed the fish plant. Earlier angle, before Elena arrived. Dante, talking to Castellano, handing him something. The dead man switch. Elena's stomach turned. No. He set you up. Used your father as bait to draw out the traitor. Knew Castellano would take the deal, would expose himself. Isabella's voice was gentle, pitying. Your father was collateral. Acceptable loss to secure Dante's power. That's not... He wouldn't... He would. He did. Isabella touched Elena's arm. I tried to warn you. All those texts, but you were already in too deep, just like I was. Elena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The video played again. Dante handing over the switch, his expression calculated, cold. He's a monster, Isabella whispered, and now you know it. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? Elena looked at the woman who'd supposedly drowned, at the evidence that destroyed everything she'd believed, and felt something inside her break completely. Not her heart. That was already gone. Her last illusion. The one that said she could love a killer and survive unchanged. What do you want from me? Her voice was dead. Help me finish this. Help me destroy him completely, or walk away and let him destroy the next woman. Isabella held out a phone. Your choice, but choose fast, because he's already looking for you, and when he finds you, the truth won't matter. Only his version will. Elena took the phone, looked at the number displayed. A number that could end Dante Morello, that could bring his empire crashing down, that could make him pay for every lie, every death, every manipulation. Her finger hovered over the call button. Outside, sirens wailed, getting closer. Dante had found her, and Elena had seconds to decide who she was going to be when he walked through that door. The woman who loved a monster, or the woman who destroyed. Elena's finger was still hovering over the call button when the warehouse door exploded inward. Not kicked open. Exploded. The concussive force sent metal shrapnel spinning through the air like razors. Isabella screamed and dove behind a support column. Elena hit the ground, the phone skittering across concrete. Dante came through the smoke like something biblical. Not walking, stalking, gun drawn, eyes scanning for targets. Behind him, Marco and three others fanned out with military precision. His gaze found Elena, then Isabella, then the phone line between them. Everything stopped. Well, his voice was sandpaper and ice. This is fucking cozy. Isabella straightened slowly, hands visible, no weapon. Hello, Dante. You're dead. He said it like stating a fact that reality had gotten wrong. I identified your body. Watched them close the casket. You identified what I wanted you to identify. A Jane Doe from the morgue, same height, same build. Dental records are easy to fake when you're sleeping with the medical examiner. Isabella's smile was bitter. You taught me that, remember? How to make people disappear. Dante's gun didn't waver. Why? Because I couldn't watch you become your father. Couldn't watch the man I loved turn into something that tortured people in basements and called it business. She took a step forward. Marco's gun tracked her. She ignored it. So I left, staged my death, gave you what you wanted, a clean ending. Until tonight. Until I watched you do to her what you did to me. Use her. Manipulate her. Get her father killed for your fucking empire. Isabella's voice cracked. I couldn't let another woman make my mistakes. Elena was still on the ground, trying to process. The video she'd seen, Dante handing Castellano the dead man's switch, her father exploding, all of it collapsing into a truth she couldn't escape. She looked at Dante. Is it true? Did you know Castellano would kill him? Something flickered in Dante's expression. It's more complicated than yes or no. The silence stretched. Outside, sirens were getting closer. Police, probably. Or rival families smelling blood. Yes, Dante's voice was flat. I knew what Castellano planned. I let it happen because it exposed him, and because your father was already dying. The doctors gave him 6 months, maybe less. Elena's world tilted. You let my father die to catch a traitor. I made a tactical decision. He was a person. My person. He was leverage. In this world, everyone's leverage. Dante lowered his gun slightly, not all the way, like he wasn't sure if she was a threat now. I would have saved him if I could, but the choice was his life or the entire organization. Thousands of people depending on me. I chose the many over the one. How noble. Elena's voice was hollow. She stood slowly. Her legs shook, but held. You used me. From the beginning. You saw a desperate woman, and you weaponized her. I saw someone who could survive this world. I was right. No. You saw someone you could control. She looked at Isabella. Show him. The rest. Isabella pulled out the tablet, pulled up more footage. Earlier. The hospital where Elena's father had been before his kidnapping. Dante. Talking to someone off camera. Then Victor Varelli being wheeled out. Not by strangers. By Dante's people. You arranged the kidnapping. Elena's voice broke. You set up the entire thing, made me think I was saving him, made me walk into that building feeling like I had a choice. It was the only way to draw out Castellano. He'd been careful for years. I needed leverage big enough to make him act. Dante's expression was stone. Your father was the key. My father was a human being. Your father was a gambling addict who destroyed your life and expected you to fix his mistakes. I gave him 6 more months of life he wouldn't have had, and I gave you a way out of poverty. Dante stepped closer. Don't rewrite history because you're angry. You signed that contract knowing what I was. I didn't know you were this. Elena gestured at the tablet, at the evidence of manipulation. I thought you were brutal, but honest. Turns out you're just brutal. Marco spoke up. Boss, we need to move. Police are 3 minutes out. Then we move. Dante looked at Isabella. You coming peacefully, or do we do this messy? I'm not going anywhere with you. That's not one of your options. Isabella laughed, sharp and broken. You're going to drag me out of here? Kill me for real this time, in front of your wife? She's not my wife anymore. The contract's void. She knows that. Dante's eyes never left Isabella. And you're a loose end. You know how I handle those. By murdering them? Elena's voice cut through. Is that what happens to me too? When I become inconvenient? You were never convenient. Dante finally looked at her. You were complicated and difficult and nothing like what I planned, but I kept you anyway. That should tell you something. It tells me you're sentimental. Doesn't make you less of a monster. The word hung in the air, monster. The thing Isabella had called him, the thing Elena had been refusing to see. Dante's jaw tightened. Fine, I'm a monster. In a world full of monsters, I'm the one who survives. I make hard choices. I use people. I prioritize the empire over individuals. He moved toward her. Marco tracked with him, covering Isabella. But I never lied about what I was. You just chose to see something else. Because you let me. You showed me the nightmares, the scars, the parts that looked like vulnerability. Made me think you were more than this. Elena's voice was rising. Was any of it real, or was I just another asset to manage? You want real? Dante was close now, too close. I chose you because I saw myself in you, someone who'd do anything to survive, who'd make the hard calls without flinching. I thought you were strong enough for this life. And now? Now I'm not sure. His hand moved, not to hurt, just to touch her face, gentle in a way that made everything worse. But I'm willing to find out. Come with me. We'll rebuild. Everything I said before still stands. You killed my father. I let him die. There's a difference. Not to me. The sirens were close now, shouting outside, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Isabella spoke up. They're here. Dante, if you're smart, you run. Take your people and disappear. Let me and Elena walk away. You think I'm leaving loose ends? Dante pulled away from Elena, raised his gun again, aimed at Isabella. You knew too much 3 years ago. You know more now. I can't let you talk. Then shoot me. But know that every moment you waste here is time the police get closer, and they're not on your payroll anymore. Castellano made sure of that before he died. All your dirty money, all your blackmail, it's in federal hands now. Dante went very still. What did you do? Insurance. Castellano and I spent 3 years documenting everything. Every transaction, every murder, every corrupt official in your pocket. Isabella's smile was triumphant. It uploads to the FBI and she checked her watch. 90 seconds. Unless you shoot me, then it uploads immediately. You're bluffing. Try me. The math was visible on Dante's face. Shoot her, lose everything. Let her live, maybe salvage something. Either way, his empire was crumbling. Elena watched him calculate. Watched the man she'd almost loved transform into pure survival instinct. Marco, we're leaving. Dante backed toward the door. Now. What about them? Marco gestured at Elena and Isabella with his gun. Let them rot. They're not worth the bullets. Dante looked at Elena one last time. This is what you wanted, right? The truth. Now you have it. Hope it keeps you warm. Then he was gone. His team melting into the shadows. The sirens deafening now. Isabella grabbed Elena's arm. We have to go. Different direction. The police find us here with that footage. We're witnesses. You want to spend the next year in protective custody? Elena looked at the door Dante had disappeared through, then at Isabella, then at the phone still on the ground, the one with the number that could end him. She picked it up. What are you doing? Isabella asked. Making a choice. Elena dialed. The phone rang once, twice. A voice answered. Federal Bureau of Investigation. I have information about Dante Morello. Everything. Locations, financials, operations. Elena's voice was steady. But I want immunity for me and Isabella Castellano. Who is this? His wife. And I'm done being an asset. She gave them the address. Hung up. Isabella stared at her. You just declared war. He started it when he killed my father. Elena pocketed the phone. Come on. We have maybe 5 minutes before this place is crawling with agents. They ran, out the back, through alleys that stank of rotting fish and industrial waste. Elena's lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she kept moving. Behind them, the warehouse lit up with police lights. Shouting, organized chaos. They ducked into a parking garage, found Isabella's car, a nondescript sedan with tags that probably belonged to someone else. Inside, finally stopped, Elena let herself breathe. That was insane, Isabella said. She was shaking. You just burned down his entire world. Good. Elena's hands were steady. The shock was wearing off, being replaced by something colder, sharper. He burned down mine first. The FBI will want everything. Testimony. Evidence. You'll be in the system for months, maybe years. Better than being dead. Elena looked at her. Or did you have another plan? My plan was expose him and disappear. I've got money hidden, fake passport. I was going to vanish again. Isabella pulled out onto the street, driving carefully, not attracting attention. But now you've involved the feds. That changes things. So change with it. Elena's voice was hard. Or run. I don't care. I'm seeing this through. They drove in silence. The city passed by. Normal people living normal lives. Elena envied them. Isabella's phone rang. She glanced at it, went pale. Who is it? Elena asked. Unknown number. She answered, put it on speaker. Hello. Isabella, Elena. Dante's voice filled the car. I'm disappointed. Elena's heart stopped. How did you... Oh, track you? Please. I've had Isabella's car bugged since she bought it 6 months ago. Been waiting for her to lead me to her safe house. He sounded almost amused. But this is better. Both of you in one place. Makes things simpler. We called the FBI. They have everything. Elena tried to keep the fear out of her voice. Failed. You called a number I gave you. Routed through a dummy line. The agent you spoke to? One of my people. Good actor, right? Dante's laugh was cold. Did you really think I'd let you turn on me that easily? The bottom dropped out of Elena's stomach. You knew about all of it. I knew Isabella was alive, knew she was working with Castellano. Let them think they were winning because it made them sloppy. His voice hardened. What I didn't know was whether you'd choose her over me. Now I do. Where are you? Isabella's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. Behind you. 2 cars back, black SUV. Try to run and I'll put a bullet through your engine block. Elena turned, saw the SUV, saw Dante's silhouette in the passenger seat. What do you want? She asked. A conversation, face to face, no tricks, no games, just honesty. He paused. There's a construction site, Pier 89. Meet me there in 20 minutes. Come alone or I start shooting now. The line went dead. Isabella looked at Elena. It's a trap, obviously. Everything with him is a trap. Elena's mind was racing. But we're out of options. The feds aren't coming. We've got no backup. And he's right behind us. So we run, ditch the car, disappear into the city. And then what? He'll find us eventually. He always does. Elena made a decision. Drive to the pier. We'll meet him, but on our terms. What terms? We've got nothing. We've got each other, and we've got the truth. Elena's voice was steel. He wants honesty? Let's give him so much honesty he chokes on it. Isabella drove. The construction site loomed ahead, skeletal buildings reaching toward the sky, cranes frozen mid-lift. Everything abandoned for the night. They parked, got out. The wind off the water was brutal. Elena's jacket wasn't warm enough. Dante's SUV pulled up. He got out alone. Marco and the others stayed in the vehicle, watching, waiting. Just us? Dante called. No audience? No backup? Just 3 people who need to stop lying to each other. They met in the center of the site, gravel crunching underfoot, the sound of water slapping against pilings. Dante looked different, older, like the last few hours had aged him. You called the FBI on me. You killed my father. I prioritized the mission. That's what leaders do. That's what monsters do. Elena's voice was shaking. You don't get to hide behind strategy. You murdered him. Say it. I orchestrated circumstances that led to his death. Is that what you want to hear? I want to hear you admit you're wrong, that you feel something. She stepped closer. Anything. Remorse. Guilt. Anything that proves you're still human. Dante's expression didn't change. I feel what I always feel. The weight of decisions. The cost of survival. But regret? No. I'd make the same choice again. Then we're done. Elena turned to walk away. Not yet. His voice stopped her. You want honesty. Here it is. I chose you because you reminded me of who I was before this life destroyed that person. Someone who still believed in things. Who still fought even when the odds were impossible. And then you destroyed that in me too. No. You're destroying it yourself by running, by choosing her over us. He gestured at Isabella. She's been lying to you from the beginning. The video she showed you? Edited. I was handing Castellano a tracker, not the dead man switch. The kidnapping? Real. Castellano went rogue. I was trying to save your father when it went wrong. Elena looked at Isabella. Is that true? Isabella's face was stone. He's lying. He always lies. Then show me the unedited footage. I don't have it. Convenient. Dante pulled out his phone. But I do. Because I record everything. Occupational hazard. He played it, the same scene, but longer, wider angle. Dante handing over a device. But the conversation was different. Track him. When he makes his move, we intercept. No casualties, if possible. And the girl's father? Alive. We bring him back alive. The footage continued, showed Castellano nodding. Then later, hours later, Castellano removing the tracker, replacing it with the dead man switch. The betrayal all his, not Dante's. Elena looked at Isabella. You edited it. I showed you what I needed you to see, to make you understand what he is. Isabella's voice was desperate now. The specifics don't matter. He's still a killer, still someone who ruins everything he touches. The specifics are everything. Elena's voice was shaking. You made me think he murdered my father. You used my grief to turn me against him. She couldn't find words big enough. That's what he would have done. What he's done before. Isabella pulled a gun from her jacket. I'm not letting him take another woman. Not letting him twist you until you're unrecognizable. The gun was pointed at Dante. He didn't move. Isabella. Elena's voice was careful. Put it down. No. This ends tonight. With him dead. Like it should have ended 3 years ago. You shoot him. His people kill us both. Look! Elena gestured at the SUV. 3 guns were visible. All aimed. You pull that trigger, we're dead in seconds. Then we all die. Better than living in his world. Speak for yourself, Dante said. His voice was calm, like having a gun on him was Tuesday. You want to shoot me? Shoot me. But admit what this really is. You're not saving Elena. You're punishing me for not being what you needed. You tortured someone in front of me. I did my job. You knew what I was. You just thought love would change me. It didn't. It never does. The gun shook in Isabella's hand. You're a monster. Yes, but I'm an honest one, which is more than you can say. Dante's eyes moved to Elena. Your choice. Believe her edited footage and fabricated narrative, or believe what you've seen with your own eyes for the past week. Elena's mind was fracturing. Too many truths, too many lies. Everything tangled until she couldn't see clear. She thought about the nightmares she'd witnessed, the way Dante held her, the violence and the vulnerability, the contract and what it had become. She thought about her father. Dying in an explosion meant for her. Whether Dante orchestrated it or tried to stop it, did it matter? He'd put them in that position, but so had she. By signing the contract, by choosing survival over safety. Isabella, she said quietly, put the gun down. What? You heard me. Lower it, now. After everything he's done, after everything we've all done. Elena moved between them, blocking the shot. He's a killer. You're a liar. And I'm someone who sold herself for money. None of us are innocent. So put the gun down before someone else dies tonight. Isabella's hand wavered. You're choosing him. I'm choosing to stop choosing. I'm choosing to survive this and deal with the consequences later. Elena held out her hand. Give me the gun. For a long moment, nothing moved. Just wind and water and 3 people standing in the wreckage of their own making. Then Isabella lowered the weapon, handed it over. Elena took it, felt the weight, remembered the range, the lessons, how easy it would be to end this right now. She looked at Dante. You said you'd make the same choice again, letting my father die. Yes. Then we're not the same, because I wouldn't. She turned the gun, pointed it at him. You're right that I signed up for this, knew what you were, but knowing and accepting are different things. Dante's expression didn't change. You going to shoot me? I don't know yet. Her hand was steady. Tell me why I shouldn't. Because you love me. We're close enough. His voice was quiet. Because despite everything, we recognize each other. And that's rare enough to be worth saving. Love isn't enough. No, but it's a start. He stepped closer, the gun barrel pressed against his chest. You want to pull that trigger? Pull it. I won't stop you. But know that the woman who does that isn't you anymore. She's someone I made, and you'll hate yourself for it. Elena's finger tightened on the trigger. 1 pound of pressure. That's all it would take. She thought about her father, about Isabella, about the week that had destroyed and rebuilt her. She lowered the gun. I'm not going to kill you. Relief flickered in Dante's eyes. But I'm not staying either. Elena's voice was broken. This world, your world, it takes everything, and I've got nothing left to give. So what, you just walk away? Pretend this didn't happen? I walk away and figure out who I am when I'm not surviving, when I'm not someone's wife or daughter or asset. She handed him the gun. The contract's void. You said so yourself, so I'm taking you up on it. And Isabella? Comes with me. We both need time away from you. Dante looked at Isabella. You good with that? Running with her instead of finishing your revenge? Better than dying tonight. Isabella's voice was hollow. And she's right. We all need distance. Dante nodded slowly, pocketed the gun. Okay. You want out? You're out. I'll have money transferred, enough to start over, both of you. I don't want your money. Take it anyway. Last thing I can give you. He looked at Elena, really looked. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About your father, about all of it. Sorry doesn't change anything. I know. He stepped back. But I'll say it anyway. You deserve better than what I gave you. Elena wanted to argue, to scream, to break down. Instead, she just nodded. Dante walked back to his SUV, got in. The vehicle pulled away, disappeared into the city. Elena and Isabella stood in the construction site, alone, the wind biting. Now what? Isabella asked. Now we figure out how to be people again. Elena started walking, away from the pier, away from the wreckage. Assuming we remember how, they walked in silence. Two women who'd loved and been destroyed by the same man, finding solidarity in shared damage. Behind them, the city hummed. Indifferent, eternal. Ahead, nothing was certain. But for the first time in a week, Elena felt like the choices were hers. That had to count for something. Check. 3 days later, Elena was in a motel room watching news coverage. Federal raid on Morello properties. Assets frozen. Associates arrested. Dante Morello still at large. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? It's me, Dante's voice. Don't hang up. I should. I know, but I need you to hear this. He sounded tired, defeated. You were right. About everything. I let this world turn me into something unrecognizable, and I dragged you down with me. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm leaving, tonight, out of the country, starting over somewhere they can't find me. A pause. And I want you to know what we had, it was real, messy and broken, but real. Elena's chest tightened. Don't do this. Do what? Make me care again. I'm trying to heal. I'm not asking you to care. Just to remember that once, for a little while, we were honest with each other, and it mattered. Cost me my father. I know. And I'll carry that, along with everything else. His voice cracked slightly. Goodbye, Elena. I hope you find what you're looking for. The line went dead. Elena sat in the motel room, staring at the phone, feeling empty and full simultaneously. Isabella emerged from the bathroom. Who was it? Wrong number. The lie came easily. Some things were too complicated to explain. On the TV, more news, more raids. Dante's empire crumbling in real time. And somewhere, the man himself was running, disappearing, becoming a ghost. Part of Elena wanted to follow, to find him, to finish whatever had started in that coffee shop a lifetime ago. But the smarter part, the surviving part, knew better. Some stories didn't get clean endings, they just stopped. This was hers stopping, and she had to learn to live with the silence. 1 week later, federal agents knocked on the motel door. Elena opened it, saw badges, weapons, the weight of law enforcement. Elena Morello? Varelli, I never changed my name legally. We need you to come with us. Questions about your husband's organization. Ex-husband, and I don't know anything. Ma'am, we have evidence suggesting otherwise, including testimony from Isabella Castellano. The agent's voice was firm. You can come voluntarily, or we can make this official. Elena looked back at the room, at Isabella, who wouldn't meet her eyes. Betrayal again. Different flavor. Same result. Isabella. Her voice was quiet. What did you do? What I had to. They offered immunity, full protection, but they needed leverage on Dante. And you're it. Isabella finally looked up. I'm sorry, but we both know he's not done. He'll come back, and when he does, you're the only thing that might stop him. The agents moved forward. Not rough, just inevitable. Elena let them cuff her. Let them read her rights. Let them walk her to the car. As they drove away, she saw Isabella standing in the motel doorway, watching. The guilt evident even from a distance. Elena closed her eyes. She'd thought the story was over, thought she'd walked away clean, but in Dante's world, nothing ever ended. It just evolved, transformed into new problems, new betrayals. And now she was being pulled back in, not as a wife, as a weapon. The car drove through the city, toward federal buildings, toward testimony and trials and everything she'd tried to escape. Her phone buzzed. One last time, a text from unknown number. They think you're leverage. They're wrong. You're the queen. And when this is over, we'll rebuild the board together. Trust me. D. Elena stared at the message, then deleted it. But the words stayed, burned into her mind, because deep down, beneath the anger and grief and exhaustion, a small part of her still believed him, still wanted to believe him, and that terrified her more than anything else. The car pulled into an underground garage, harsh lights, armed guards, the machinery of justice grinding into motion. Elena stepped out. Let them process her, photograph her, catalog her as evidence. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she started planning. Not escape, not surrender. Something else. Something that would burn down what remained and build something new from the ashes. Because if she'd learned anything from Dante Morello, it was this. Survival wasn't about avoiding the fire. It was about learning to live inside it. And she was done running from the heat. The real war was just beginning. The interrogation room smelled like stale coffee and desperation. Elena sat across from two federal agents, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes, and a younger man who looked like he'd graduated law school last week. Between them, a recorder blinked red. Everything she said would become evidence. Testimony. The nails in Dante Morello's coffin, if she chose to speak. Mrs. Morello. Virelli. Elena's voice was flat. I told you, I never legally changed my name. The woman, Agent Torres, her badge said, nodded. Ms. Virelli, you understand why you're here. Because Isabella Castellano sold me out to save herself. Ms. Castellano provided valuable intelligence. In exchange, yes, she received immunity. Torres leaned forward. But we need corroboration. Your testimony about Dante Morello's operations. Financial crimes, racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder. You were his wife for 2 weeks. You saw things. I saw a lot of things. Doesn't mean I'm telling you about them. The younger agent, Mitchell, tried a different approach. Your father died because of Morello's world. Don't you want justice? Elena's laugh was sharp, bitter. Justice, that's a nice word. Clean, implies things work out fair. She looked at him, really looked. My father died because he gambled away everything and made deals with people who don't forgive debt. Dante didn't pull the trigger, the world did, and you can't prosecute a world. But we can prosecute the man who facilitated it. Can you? Elena's voice was cold. You've been trying to take down the Morello family for what, 20 years? And here you are, desperate enough to drag in a woman who signed a contract 2 weeks ago. That tells me you've got nothing. Just hope that I'll give you something. Torres's expression hardened. We have enough to make charges stick, but your cooperation would ensure a conviction, life in prison versus a chance he walks. And if I don't cooperate, then we charge you as an accessory, money laundering at minimum. You benefited financially from his enterprise. That makes you complicit. There it was, The threat. Cooperate or become collateral damage. Elena had been expecting it, had spent the drive here calculating this exact conversation. How long? She asked. For what? If I don't cooperate, how long am I looking at? Mitchell consulted a file. 5 to 7 years, federal minimum security. You'd be out in 4 with good behavior. 4 years. Elena sat with that number, 4 years of her life in a cage, for the crime of trying to save her father. The math was brutal, but so was everything else. I want to make a call, she said. To who? My lawyer. You don't have a lawyer. Then I want one appointed, right now, because I'm done talking without representation. Torres and Mitchell exchanged glances. This wasn't going how they'd planned. Ms. Varelli. Lawyer, now, or I don't say another word. Elena crossed her arms. You know your rights, I know mine. Let's both act accordingly. They left her alone. The interrogation room had a two-way mirror. Elena knew Dante had taught her that. Knew someone was watching, analyzing, trying to read her. She gave them nothing, just sat, breathed, waited. Her phone was gone, confiscated. But Dante's message was still burned into her memory. You're the queen. What did that mean? In chess, the queen was the most powerful piece, but also the most targeted, protected by pawns and bishops, used to control the board. Was that what she was? A piece in a larger game? Or could she become a player? The door opened. A man entered. 50s, expensive suit, the kind of confidence that came from winning more cases than he'd lost. Ms. Varelli, I'm Robert Chen. I've been retained to represent you. By who? A mutual acquaintance who wishes to remain anonymous but has your best interests at heart. He set down a briefcase, pulled out documents. I've reviewed the federal case. It's weak, circumstantial. They need your testimony to make it substantial. They threaten to charge me as an accessory. They can try, won't stick. You were married for 2 weeks, most of which you spent in protective isolation. No jury would convict. Chen's voice was assured, clinical. But they're hoping you don't know that. Hoping fear makes you cooperative. So what do I do? You invoke your Fifth Amendment right, decline to testify. Walk out of here. He slid a paper across the table. I've already filed the motions. You're free to go as soon as you sign. Elena looked at the document, then at Chen. Dante sent you. I never said that. You didn't have to. She picked up the pen. What does he want in return? Just your silence, and perhaps when the dust settles, a conversation. Elena signed, fast, before she could second guess. Chen gathered the papers. The agents will be upset. They'll try to pressure you on the way out. Don't engage, just walk. And then what? Then you disappear for a while. Let this blow over. I'll have a car waiting outside. Driver will take you somewhere safe. Somewhere Dante chooses. Somewhere strategic. Chen stood. You're a smart woman, Ms. Varelli. You know how this works. Nothing's free, but this particular debt is one you'll want to honor. He left. 10 minutes later, Torres and Mitchell returned. Saw the signed documents. Their faces went tight. You're making a mistake, Torres said. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. Elena stood. Am I free to go? For now, but this isn't over. It never is. Elena walked out. Through corridors that smelled like bureaucracy, past federal agents who looked at her with contempt or pity, out into afternoon sunlight that felt like freedom and trap simultaneously. A black sedan was waiting. Driver she didn't recognize. She got in anyway. Where to? She asked. Upstate, safe house. 3 hours. The driver pulled into traffic. You'll be met there. By who? Questions are above my pay grade, ma'am. Elena settled into the leather seat, watched the city disappear behind her, every mile taking her further from the federal building, from Isabella's betrayal, from the illusion of clean choices. Her hand went to her collarbone. The tracker was gone, removed by the feds during processing, but she could still feel where it had been. A phantom weight, a reminder that she'd let herself be marked, claimed, owned, not anymore. Whatever happened next, it would be on her terms, or she'd die trying. The safe house was a cabin. isolated, surrounded by forests that went on forever, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. Elena got out of the car. The driver handed her a key. Everything you need is inside. Someone will be here by nightfall. He drove away before she could ask more questions. The cabin was nicer than she'd expected. Rustic but comfortable. Fireplace, stocked kitchen, bedroom with a view of mountains. On the table, a note. Make yourself comfortable. We have a lot to discuss. D. Elena crumpled it, threw it in the fireplace, watched it burn. Then she searched the cabin, looking for bugs, cameras, anything that would let him watch her. Found nothing. Either he was better at hiding surveillance than she was at finding it, or he was actually giving her privacy. She didn't know which would be worse. Night fell. Elena made food she didn't taste, tried to rest, couldn't. Her mind kept circling. What was Dante's play here? What did he want? And why did part of her still care? Around 8 p.m., headlights cut through the darkness. A car pulling up. Engine cutting off. Elena moved to the window. Watched a figure get out. Dante. Alone. No backup visible. Just him, walking toward the cabin like he owned it. Like he owned everything. She opened the door before he could knock. They stood there, 2 feet apart, a week's worth of damage between them. You came, he said finally. Did I have a choice? Always, that's the point, he gestured. Can I come in? Elena stepped aside. He entered, looked around, nodded approval at something she couldn't see. Nice place, she said, voice dripping sarcasm. You own it or just rent for special occasions? I own it. Bought it years ago. Somewhere to disappear when the world got too loud. He moved to the fireplace, studied the ashes of his burned note. You didn't like my message. I didn't like being summoned. You weren't summoned. You were offered an exit from federal custody, from Isabella's betrayal. You took it. Because the alternative was prison. The alternative was always prison, or death, or disappearing into witness protection. None of them good. Dante turned to face her. I gave you the best option available. That doesn't make me the villain. No, everything else makes you the villain. Elena's voice was shaking. My father, the lies, the manipulation, using me like a chess piece. I never used you. I offered you a deal. You accepted. What happened after? That was both of us, not just me. You let him die. I tried to save him. Castellano went rogue. The plan was extraction, not execution. Dante's voice was tight, controlled anger bleeding through. I showed you the footage, the real footage. You saw what I intended. Intentions don't bring him back. No, nothing brings him back. But blaming me doesn't either. He stepped closer. You want someone to punish for your father's death? Punish the world that created the debt. Punish the system that made his gambling profitable for predators. Punish yourself for signing a contract instead of letting him die months earlier in a public hospital. The words hit like fists. Don't you dare! I dare because someone needs to say it. You didn't sign that contract to save him. You signed it to save yourself from guilt, from having to watch him die knowing you could have done something. Dante's voice was raw now. I know because I did the same thing. With my father. With everyone I've ever tried to protect. We don't save people. We just postpone their endings and pretend that counts. Elena's breath caught. Your father died because I wasn't fast enough, smart enough, strong enough to stop the hit. Dante moved to the window, stared out at darkness. I was 24. Thought I knew everything. Walked right into an ambush meant for him. He took the bullets, saved me, and with his last breath he told me I was ready to lead. Were you? No. But I did it anyway. Because the alternative was watching everything he built crumble. He turned. That's what this life is, Elena. Making impossible choices and living with the consequences. I'm not asking you to forgive me, just to understand. I understand that you're a killer. Yes. That you've built an empire on blood and fear. Yes. That being close to you is a death sentence. For some, not for everyone. His eyes met hers. Isabella survived me. So have you. So far. So far? Elena laughed bitterly. What a fucking endorsement. Silence fell. Outside, wind moved through trees. Inside, two people stood in the wreckage of what they'd almost been. "Why did you bring me here?" Elena asked finally. "Really? Because the federal case against me is solid. They've got financials, testimony from lower-level associates, enough to make charges stick." Dante's voice was matter-of-fact. "I'm looking at life. Maybe death penalty, depending on what they charge. And before that happens, I needed to see you. One more time. Without games. Without the contract. Just us." "There is no us." "There was. Briefly. In that villa. In the moments between the violence." He moved closer. Not threatening, just present. "I know I destroyed it. Destroyed you. But it existed. And I wanted you to know it mattered." Elena's chest tightened. "Why does that matter? What difference does it make now?" "Because in 3 days I turned myself in." The words hung in the air. Impossible. Dante Morello didn't surrender, didn't submit to authority. He was apex predator. Kings didn't kneel. "You're lying," she said. "I'm not. I've already negotiated terms with the federal prosecutor. Guilty plea on certain charges, cooperation on others. In exchange, reduced sentence, 15 years instead of life. Cooperation means names, locations. You'd be betraying your own people. I'd be protecting them from a war they can't win. The feds have enough to dismantle the organization anyway. This way, I control the narrative. Protect the people who matter. Ensure some kind of legacy beyond bloodshed." Dante's expression was carved stone. "It's over, Elena. The empire. The life. All of it. I'm choosing to end it on my terms." Elena sat down. Her legs couldn't hold her anymore. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know, and because I'm offering you a choice." He pulled out an envelope, set it on the table. "In there is a new identity. Passport, driver's license, financial accounts. Enough money to start over anywhere in the world. No strings, no contract. Just freedom." "In exchange for what?" "Nothing. This isn't a transaction." His voice softened. "This is an apology. For getting your father killed. For dragging you into my world. For showing you things you can't unsee." Elena stared at the envelope. "And if I don't take it, then you go back to your life. Whatever that looks like now. But either way, I'm done pulling strings, done manipulating. This is me letting go." She wanted to believe him, wanted to think that Dante Morello could actually release control. But she'd seen too much. Knew how he operated. "What's the catch?" "No catch, just..." He paused. "Just remember me as more than a monster. That's all I ask." Elena picked up the envelope, felt the weight of it. New life, new identity, the clean break she'd been desperate for. But it felt like accepting blood money, like taking payment for her father's death. "I can't," she said quietly. "Can't or won't?" "Both." She set it down. "You think money fixes this, erases what happened? My father's still dead, I'm still broken, and you're still the person who made those things true. Then what do you want from me?" "The truth. All of it. No strategy, no manipulation, just honesty." Elena met his eyes. "Did you ever actually care about me? Or was I always just another asset?" Dante was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was raw, stripped of armor. "I cared. More than I should have. More than was safe." He sat across from her. "I told myself it was strategic, that choosing you made tactical sense. But the truth is, I saw you break that glass and I recognized something. Someone who'd survived being crushed, but refused to stay broken." "And Isabella?" "I loved her. Or thought I did. But she wanted to save me, change me. You never did. You just wanted to survive me. That was..." He searched for words. "More honest, more real. Real enough to destroy everything for?" "I'm not destroying everything for you. I'm destroying everything because it was already crumbling. You just made me see it clearly." Dante's hand moved across the table, stopped short of touching hers. "I built an empire on fear and blood, and it cost me everyone who mattered. My father, Isabella, you. At some point you have to ask if the empire's worth the price. And your answer? No, it's not." He withdrew his hand. "So I'm ending it, giving testimony, dismantling what I built, And then I'm going to prison for a very long time. Elena studied his face, looking for lies, for angles, for the game beneath the game, found only exhaustion and something that looked like acceptance. What happens to me? She asked. Whatever you want. The new identity is yours if you want it, or you stay Elena Varelli and rebuild your life here. I've made arrangements. Your father's debts are permanently cleared. You'll never be contacted about them again. That much I can promise. And when you're in prison, will you... She didn't know how to finish the question. Will I reach out, try to contact you, pull you back in? Dante shook his head. No, this is goodbye. Real goodbye. The kind where we don't see each other again. Unless I visit. The words surprised her as much as him. Why would you? He asked. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I'd spend 15 years trying to forget you existed. Elena's voice cracked. Or maybe I'd need to see you to remember that this was real, that I didn't imagine the whole thing. You didn't imagine it. Dante stood, moved to the door. But you should try to forget anyway. You deserve a life that's not defined by me. He opened the door, stepped into the night. Elena called after him. Wait. He stopped, didn't turn. I forgive you, she said. For my father. For all of it. Not because you deserve it, but because I need to let it go. Dante's shoulders tensed. You shouldn't. Probably not. But I am anyway. She moved to the doorway. You were right about one thing. We recognized each other, and that mattered. Even if it was brief. Even if it was broken. It mattered. He turned then, looked at her one last time. Goodbye, Elena. Goodbye, Dante. He walked to his car, got in, drove away. Elena watched the taillights disappear into forest. Then she closed the door, locked it, sat in the cabin that smelled like smoke and pine. The envelope was still on the table. New life, new identity, freedom. She opened it, found the passport, the financial documents, enough zeros to make her dizzy. And underneath, a handwritten note. You were never an asset. You were the one thing I couldn't calculate. And that made you dangerous in the best way. Be safe. Be happy. Be everything I couldn't let you be. D. Elena folded the note, put it in her pocket. Then she pulled out her phone, returned to her after Chen's intervention, and made a call. Hello? Isabella. It's me. Silence. Then, carefully, I didn't think you'd call. Neither did I, but we need to talk, face to face. Elena, I'm sorry. About the feds. I panicked, and I know that's not why I'm calling. Elena's voice was steady. You spent 3 years planning to destroy Dante, and you failed. I want to know why. Because he's smarter than me. Always has been. No. Because you were still playing his game by his rules. Elena looked out at the forest. But I'm done playing, and I think you are too. So let's meet. Somewhere neutral. And figure out who we are when we're not defined by him. Another pause. Okay, where? The city, tomorrow. That coffee shop where this all started. Poetic. Fitting. Elena hung up. She spent the night in the cabin. Didn't sleep. Just sat by the fire, watching flames consume wood, thinking about destruction and rebirth. In the morning, she packed, took the envelope, left the key on the table, walked out into sunlight that felt like possibility. The coffee shop looked the same, espresso machines hissing, customers living normal lives. Elena sat at the same table where Castellano had offered her the contract, where her old life had ended. Isabella arrived 15 minutes later. She looked different, thinner, older, haunted. They sat in silence for a moment. Two women who'd loved and been destroyed by Dante Morello, finding common ground and shared damage. He's turning himself in, Elena said finally. 3 days. Isabella's eyes widened. He told you? Last night. Said it's over. He's cooperating with the feds, dismantling everything. That's... Isabella couldn't find words. That's not him. He doesn't surrender. Maybe he's changed. Or maybe he's just tired. Elena sipped coffee that tasted better than it should. Either way, it's done. So what now? We just, move on? Pretend it didn't happen? We can't pretend, but we can choose what comes next. Elena pulled out the envelope. He gave me this, new identity, money, freedom. I'm thinking about taking it. And going where? Somewhere warm, somewhere quiet. Somewhere I can learn who I am when I'm not surviving. She looked at Isabella. You should come with me. Why would you want that? After I betrayed you? Because we both need to heal, and doing it alone sounds lonely. Elena's voice was soft. We're the only two people who understand what it's like to be loved by a monster. That's a bond, whether we want it or not. Isabella's eyes filled. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not, but I'm giving it anyway, for me, not you. Elena stood. I'm leaving in a week. If you want to come, meet me here. Same time, same table. If you don't, I'll understand. She walked out before Isabella could respond. The city moved around her, indifferent, eternal. Elena walked through streets that felt familiar and foreign. This had been her home, her prison, her battlefield. Now it was just a city. She spent the next week closing doors, visited her father's grave, stood there for an hour talking to dirt and stone, telling him she was sorry, that she'd tried, that she forgave him for the gambling and the debt and the choices that had led them both here. Visited the hospital where it had all started, walked past the ICU, remembered the fear, the desperation, the moment she'd decided survival was worth any price. She'd been wrong, but she'd also been right, because she had survived, broken and changed, but alive. On the seventh day, she returned to the coffee shop. Isabella was waiting. She had a bag, packed, ready. Somewhere warm and quiet, Isabella said. I'm in. They ordered coffee, sat like strangers becoming friends, talking about nothing important, where they might go, what they might do, building futures out of maybes. Outside, the city hummed. Somewhere in it, Dante Morello was preparing to surrender, to spend the next decade in a cage, to pay for sins both real and imagined. Elena didn't think about him, or tried not to. But late that night, alone in the new apartment she'd rented with Dante's money, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. You were the queen. The most powerful piece, but you chose to leave the board. That takes more courage than playing. Be well. D. Elena stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it. But she didn't block the number. Some doors you closed, some you left cracked, just in case. Six months later, Elena stood on a beach in Costa Rica. White sand, turquoise water, the kind of postcard beauty that felt unreal after everything. Isabella was in the water, swimming, laughing at something a local had said. She'd found work teaching English, found peace in routine, in normal. Elena worked at a bar, not because she needed the money, Dante's account had more than enough, but because she needed the normalcy, the rhythm of mixing drinks and making small talk, being someone who wasn't defined by tragedy. Her phone buzzed, email notification. She almost didn't check, but something made her look. Federal Bureau of Investigation, official communication. Dear Ms. Varelli, this is to inform you that Dante Morello was sentenced today to 15 years in federal prison. He provided extensive cooperation with our investigation, resulting in the dismantling of the Morello criminal organization. 17 associates were arrested. Assets totaling $340 million were seized. Mr. Morello specifically requested we inform you that all agreements regarding your father's debt have been legally codified. You will not be contacted about this matter again. Additionally, Mr. Morello asked us to convey a message. The board is yours now. Play it better than I did. Regards, Special Agent Torres. Elena read it twice, then closed her phone, walked down to the water, let waves crash over her feet, salt spray on her face, the sun burning away the last shadows of who she'd been. Isabella swam over. You okay? Yeah, I am. And she meant it. That night they sat on the beach, watching stars emerge, drinking cheap wine from bottles that tasted like freedom. Do you ever think about him? Isabella asked quietly. Every day. Less now than before, but still. Do you regret it? Any of it? Elena thought about the question. Really thought. I regret my father dying. Regret the pain, the fear, the person I had to become. She paused. But I don't regret surviving, and I don't regret learning I was strong enough to walk away. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Elena took a drink. We were broken things trying to fix each other. It was never going to work. But for a little while it felt like maybe it could. And that hope, even false hope, that mattered. You loved him. I did. Briefly, stupidly, completely. Elena's voice was steady. And then I loved myself more. And that's how I survived. They sat in silence. Two women rebuilding lives from rubble, finding strength in shared damage, and understanding that survival wasn't weakness, it was victory. Elena's phone buzzed again. She ignored it. Whatever messages the past sent, she was done answering. The future was here, on this beach, in this moment, in the choice to wake up tomorrow and keep building. Years later, when the scars had faded to silver lines and the memories had dulled to echoes, someone would ask Elena about Dante Morello, and she'd say, "He was a storm, brutal and beautiful and destructive, and I survived him. That's all that matters." She wouldn't mention the letters, the ones that arrived every few months from a federal prison, written in careful handwriting, never asking for responses, just talking about books he'd read, changes he was making, the person he was trying to become. She wouldn't mention that she kept them in a box under her bed, unread but preserved, because some chapters closed and some just paused, and she was okay with not knowing which this was. Elena Varelli, once Elena Morello, once just Elena, stood on a beach and watched the sun set over water that went on forever. She'd signed a contract to save a dying man. Instead, she'd saved herself. And in the end, that was the only transaction that mattered. The ocean whispered promises. The sand held her steady. And somewhere inside her chest, beneath the scars and the memories, her heart beat strong. Survivor, fighter, queen. She'd earned all three titles. And she'd never give them back.